morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from around the world, and welcome to Match Day Live as Tottenham take on K-League All-Stars in a friendly, pre-season friendly at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. And of course, we should get to see our new signing, Hyuk, in action against us today because he is selected for the K-League All-Stars, and I believe he's set to start today. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But as you can see, we are joined by an eclectic panel of great people. Great word by Dave this early in the morning. So you can tell I've had my tea. But Ribsy, how are you, sir?
Very good, very good. It looks like you're joined by the three grey-haired men. So hopefully we can energy up beyond our years. But no, good to see you, man. Excited for the match. Excited to see Hyuk. Excited to see the rest of the lads. Should be good.
Look, first of all, I'd probably be joining you if I have to keep getting up this early to start streaming and stuff like that, you know. Give me another 4 years and I'll probably be with you. And by the way, I thought yours was blonde, Ribsy.
Well, it was once. Yeah, there's some blonde still in there somewhere, but
we need to go back to that. I like that haircut. I did like that haircut. Dermotron, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's as Ribsy say, welcome to the three wise men. That's all I can say. You know, I agree with Ribsy. Yeah, I'm grand. Life is grand. Ireland have won 2 medals at the Olympics, and Tottenham are playing today, so everything's going well. So come on, you Spurs. Thanks for having me on again, though, Dave.
No, I appreciate your time, Dermo. Yeah, we won 2 medals in the swimming, so we're going all right at this moment. Hopefully, there's more to follow. I'm sick of watching us be beat, though. To be brutally honest, I've been tuning in nearly all day, every day, and we keep losing. But anyway. Jose, it was your birthday yesterday, so happy belated birthday to you, and I'm sure plenty of people in the chat will wish you a belated birthday as well. He turned 19 yesterday. Jose, how are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. All the better. I'm off work at the moment, so all the better for being up early in the morning again with you guys. And if you're talking about winning things, let me just put it out there. Spain just dominate football. I just keep winning everything. I've just won the Euro 19's final, beating France 2-0. And now in the quarterfinals of the Olympics as well. So, but there we go. But that's enough for Spain. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to today's show. Looking forward to Tottenham playing, as I always do. And let's see what today shows us and what today gives us at the game.
Hopefully, another good run out. I mean, last time we played them, I think we bet them 6-3. They actually gave us a run for our money under Conte. So it'll be interesting to see what we do today. Actually, speaking of Spain, you just reminded me, I was watching Sky Sports before I came on. How the hell is Enzo Fernandez and Cucurella back for Chelsea? And we're still waiting for Romero, Bentancur, and people like that to get back. I don't know. I don't understand that. I would like to see maybe a bit more commitment and seeing them getting back a bit quicker and gearing up for trophies this season, which seems to be the message coming out from Archie Gray, Madison, and Ange Postecoglou on the pre-season tour. But guys, I'm going to welcome all you lovely, I was going to call you fuckers, but it's probably too early to do that. All you lovely people out there in, and let's see how you're all keeping. Big up, Eddie. MV Joker Davies, good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Presume you're in around the same time as Ribsy, 6, 7 o'clock over there, Eddie. Big yourself up, and I'd say you're delighted. It's a nice time for you. El Cockerel Jose says, come on, you Spurs.
Mighty Spurs.
Mighty Spurs. I was going to say MF Spurs, mother effer Spurs, to be honest with you. So thanks for clearing that one up. Moondog says, good morning. What time is kickoff, Moondog? It is at midday today for all of us guys in the Ireland and the UK on this glorious Wednesday morning, I must say. So big up, Moondog. Hopefully you and Charlie will get to sit back, relax, and enjoy the game. Good to see you, Mark. Great to see you in the house as always. Seeker One says, good morning, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Back in a bit. Good to see you, lad. We also have Rick C, big up everyone. Come on, you Spurs. Great to see you. Danny Darko, oi, guys, good day, all Spurs fans and panel. Great to see you, Danny. We have Wilson T. Yeah, chaps, big up. Let's bloody go. Big up, Wilson. Tyler says, I thought the game was tomorrow and I have not slept. And it starts in 3 hours. Time for a nap. Have a good stream, y'all. Well, I hope we're right and you're wrong on this one, Tyler, to be brutally honest, because if we're going a day early, it's a bit of a cluster F by me, to be brutally honest with you. But go and enjoy some sleep, Tyler, and we'll see you soon. Don't know where Dermo's gone. He's probably gone to get tea. John Michael says, morning all. Great to see you, Johnny boy. We also have Liston Hines top in the morning. Great to see you as well. We also have Angelo Tyro, Spain. We got the absolute Absolute B22 Lo Celso. Priority is Argentina. Well, I think we've known that for quite some time. We also have Ellie in Vegas. Hi, lads. I'm on the train in Korea right now. Well, Ellie, are you heading to the game? Heading up to the Seoul Stadium to watch Tottenham? Please do let us know in the comment section below. I know you're not Ellie, the great Ellie from London. You're a different Ellie, so let us know if you're heading to the game. If you are, enjoy yourself. You also got Jay Keaveney. Morning, lads. Great to see you, Mr. Keaveney. As always, we've got Michael W. Morning from Atlanta today. Come on, you Spurs. I love that. We got a lot of Spurs fans who just like to move around the place. Paddy Harnett. Morning, Jay. Looking forward to the game and also seeing the new signing up Spurs. Good to see you in the building, Paddy. And we've got Kenyan Spurs. Morning, lads. Another beautiful day for Ange Ball. Still waiting for Tony. I mean, it's a great day for Ange Ball. It's a great day to be alive. And hopefully we ball out today. I'd argue with each game we're looking better and better. Keith Edwards, nice to see you, Davey. Keep up the good work. Really appreciate that, Keith. Great to see you as always. Then we've got International Observer. Big up, guys. FC Pound Shop on show today. I see we are really becoming a ridiculous club. Look, I get it. A lot of people becoming frustrated with the lack of signings. And I completely understand. Tagaro SPT, big up, lads. Looking forward to the game. Come on, you Spurs. And Ellie says, we just watched Vissel Kobe the other day and we'll watch Bayern on Saturday. Wow, so you're actually following Tottenham around on pre-season. So fair play to you. That's absolutely amazing. Being brutally honest, it's a dream of mine. I'd love to go on a pre-season tour to a far-fetched country like that. Not sure how I'd survive food-wise. I'm a pretty plain eater. Unless there's burgers and stuff on the go, I think it'd probably do me the world of good, actually. I'll probably come back a few pounds lighter, actually. So if anyone wants to help me get on pre-season tour next year, please get in contact. You can contribute to Dave's weight loss and his health. And then we also have Kai Balik, morning from California. Good to see you. Paul Vamben, good morning, guys. Come on, you Spurs. And Jerome, who I haven't seen in a while. Jerome, down under, 6-7 o'clock for you as well, my man. Hopefully you enjoyed the game tonight. Morning, lads. Another pre-season game. Great to see you, Jerome. I think this is Jerome from Australia. I hope I'm right. Anyway, it's 9 a.m. where I am, so people forgive me if I do make mistakes today. Oh, I think we got Dermotron back here in the corner. Let's bring him back in. But look, we'll kick it off, guys. Let's get in and talking about Tottenham Hotspur, the greatest club there's ever been. So, Ribsy, we'll start with you. Tottenham have shown impressive form, winning all the pre-season matches against Cambridge, Hearts, QPR, and Vissel Kobe. Which players have shown the most improvement or have been the standout performers during these matches for you, Ribsy?
The standout performers have got to be the kids coming in from the under-21s and the new kids, Bergvall and Gray. And got to shout out Spence as well. I think he's shown massive improvement since the last time he was playing in a Spurs shirt. If we're just talking improvement, then his time in Girona obviously has done him the world of good. It's his confidence. I mean, I don't think the guy ever lacked for confidence. I don't think that was ever the problem. But his ability is clearly catching up to that confidence now. Whether Ange wants to play football with the guy or not is another question. And I think that they've all. It looks as though everyone's in a happier place with it now because he knows that he's of the ability. And even if he doesn't have a place in Ange's team, I think that you'll be able to find somewhere for him to play and to play at a fairly high level. So I think that sort of panic of him not getting football is gone for him because he knows that people will be after him because he's a darn good player. So I personally, without knowing him personally, I'd bring him into the team at this point. I think that he's shown enough. I don't think he'd start many games because Porro, whenever he's fit, is a clearly better player. But you got to have more than one player for each position, and you can do a lot worse than Jed Spence now. I think. Apart from that, the young fellas.
I was going to say, do you know what? I completely agree with you on Jed Spence. I think he's been absolutely fantastic this preseason. I think he warrants a place in the squad, at least until January anyway, to see how it goes. We're struggling to get in players right now, which, in order to help Ange achieve better than what he did last season, we do have to sign another one or two players up in that forward line, preferably to a striker and someone else with a bit more creativity. So I don't see the point in wasting money on a backup right back, considering we already need a backup left back as well. Look, in an ideal world, being a Tottenham fan, you'd say, yep, go and get good backups in every single position because we need it. However, You know, Daniel Levy ain't going to do that. So I do think we should be looking at keeping Jed Spence. And I get what you're saying, right? He's probably not going to dislodge Porro from the starting 11, but he provides us a complete different option if we wanted to change things up off the bench, you know, where he can get on the ball, directly run at people. And I think he's good enough on the ball as well. My questions were defensively, you know, how's he going to cope defensively? Because I think what we're seeing going forward is exactly what we brought off Nottingham, was it Middlesbrough, I think, in the end we ended up buying him from. You know, that's exactly what we bought. You know, we knew he was like that going forward, but defensively, and I think he's answered the questions. I've seen him make lung-busting runs to get back, you know, help cover and stuff like that. So it does look like he's fully committed to the cause. And I'd argue never really been given a fair shakedown at Tottenham, you know, ever. So this is probably his first real chance. And at the age of 24, I think he's going to grab it. I think maybe he's had a bit of a mind switch. I think maybe when Postecoglou first came in, he was pissed off, you know, and maybe carried on that poor attitude towards the club. But it does look like it's changed. So I'm with you on that, Ribsy. I'll be looking at keeping Jed Spence around here as part of the squad, because all we do want is hungry players that are here willing to work, unlike previous, you know, where you have players that didn't want to work. So hopefully it works out for the kid. I'm a big backer of Jedi Spence-tacular, so hopefully it works, Ribsy.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Absolutely.
I hope so. Jose, down to you, my man. I mean, most improved player or the best player so far on preseason tour? Who is it for you?
I'm going to say, I know I'm going to say a load of different things here. I'm impressed with Austin in goal.
He's been good.
I think he's done really, really well. And I've been impressed with Gunter when in the few minutes that he's had as well. It makes me think to myself, why the hell have we got 5 goalkeepers at Tottenham when 2 of them are doing absolutely nothing in Forster and Whiteman? But that's
Do you want
another.
to know why? Box ticking exercises.
I know, but get rid of them. Promote take some of your young lads off the B list and promote them into the A list, and get rid of them 2 goalkeepers. They're just wasting our space in the squad. But yeah, it's been really good to see Brandon Austin. He's been around the club for years, but just never been seen. You know, and now we saw him in pre-season. I think he's done really, really well, as I said. And I thought, yeah, the minutes that Keedy has had, he's done well as well. Sorry, Keedy, Gunter has done well. In defence, I think Donnelly has played really well. He shows his versatility. In the last game, playing from left back, he was the one taking shots from the edge of their box. He doesn't lose the ball. He's so composed with that left foot. I think he's done really well. Jed Spence has been absolute revelation, as Ribsy just said and you said. So he's played well. I think Bissouma's had a good start to the pre-season as well. I think Bissouma, yeah.
Because I was speaking to Jack yesterday, and you know, I said to Jack, I think, you know, I think he's been all right pre-season. But Jack said he was very disappointed with him.
I think right, these 2 youngsters we brought in put a rocket up his arse, honestly, because I've said all along that these 2 young boys that we brought in Gray and Bergvall, they haven't come in to go into our academy or to pad up numbers. These 2 boys have come in to affect the first team, and I believe that by the end of the season, next season, some of our midfielders that we currently have will not be with us because we'll rehash and get some other players in, and I think that these 2 players are here to upset the apple cart. And I think that Bissouma, I think he's wise enough to see this, and he's improved. I think he's had a sound pre-season in the first 3 games. Who else? I'm trying to think out of the. I think Kulusevski's done well. I'm going to give it. I think Kulusevski's done well. And then other than that, if I'm going to look, yeah, Gray for me has been absolutely immense. He's a natural footballer, isn't he? You can see he's a natural footballer. He can be coached and he can be taught. He's willing to learn. I mean, the interviews that he's done, he's turned around and said, I've been played that position at centre back, and I'm learning, and I like learning. So it's the right attributes and the right attitude we've got from the player. He's done really well. He's impressed me. Bergvall has looked really good as well. Looks like another natural footballer. Wants the ball, breaks lines, knows when to pass, knows when to carry. He's looked really impressive as well. Of course, Mikey Moore. Goes without saying. if you're old enough, if you're good enough, you're old enough in my eyes. The
Mm.
guy is a really, really good player. I'm so happy that he cannot be loaned out to any other club because it means that he can be in and around that first team. I wouldn't be giving him 5 minutes at the end of the game either. The guy looks like when he gets the ball, he can affect anything. So I think if you're going to bring him off the bench, he can be an impact sub, and you can give him and trust in him to give him more than 5 minutes at a time. Lancashire, his goal that he scored, took it really well. I think he should have had a penalty in the last game. He's shown glimpses of what he can do. Yeah, all around, it's been interesting because, like I said, you get to see the youngsters a bit more than a lot of us, and actually seeing them in the flesh and playing football, it's been a joy. It's probably what's kept us positive throughout this pre-season.
No, I think it's been very, very positive. I do want to come back to the goalkeeper situation where you mentioned Austin and Gunter, but just hold that thought for 1 minute. Levy with a bevy says, no front 3 or 10 signings. We will finish no higher than 6. What on earth are the club management putting trust in the same clowns? Well, I want to be very quick to take Ange Postecoglou out of this. He had his meeting at the back end of last season with the transfer committee. They've already agreed upon on what was supposed to be done in terms of outgoings and incomings. He's done his job. Who we should be blaming right now is the board and the transfer committee for not being more gung-ho about going after these signings and stuff like that. Ange Postecoglou, it's not his fault. You know, if people think that he's sitting there going, oh, well, we don't want to pay 70 million for this guy, we'd rather pay 50, forget about it. That's not what he's doing. He's on tour working with the squad. Who we should be blaming is the transfer committee and the board right now, not Ange Postecoglou. You know, he even said it the other day about Hugh. That wasn't his signing, like many people maybe suggested because of his thing with Asia. He said it's the scouting department. So, you know, all he does is have his meetings. It's up to everybody else in their individual roles to carry it out. So I'd be very quick to, you know, not put Ange Postecoglou or throw him under the bus for what's happening this summer. David, Daryl says, keep Spence, just spilled water out my mouth. What are you doing, Dave? Haven't you learned anything from the past? And then you get angry at the realist fans who call you out. First of all, I don't think anyone's more real of a fan than anybody else. At the end of the day, we all support the club. We all love this football club. Just because someone has a difference of opinion to me on certain subjects, it doesn't make them more real than me, and it doesn't make me more real than them. So first of all, let's get that ego sort of thing, ego-driven shit out of the equation here. I'm not having that. That's absolute bullshit. At the end of the day, it's fucking 9 a.m. I'm sitting here doing a pre-match show about our club building up today. So I'm not having that, pretending that I'm not a real fan. Second of all, people are entitled to their opinion. People may not agree with me on Jed Spence. That's fine. But if you're sitting there and you're perpetrating to everybody that Daniel Levy's going to go out and sign a right wing back or another right back, you're spreading lies to this fan base. It's not going to happen. So, you know, ideally under a big massive owner like the City guys, yeah, I'd love it to happen. Of course, we all want it to happen. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's going to happen and say, yeah, go and get me a right wing back when it's not going to happen. And then everyone's going to sit here saying, get rid of Jed Spence. And then when Porro gets injured, they're going to be sitting there scratching their head. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get ahead of this situation. I'm trying to build a squad out of what I can. It's not my fault that the way the club operate the business and I have to think like this. But don't blame me. And by blaming fans like me, you're actually taking the problem off the real problem, which is the ownership. So keep going blaming fans like me, but it ain't going to fucking get you anywhere, and it ain't going to put the attention where it needs to go. So that's what I have to say on that. You're more than welcome to hit back and come back with your opinion. No problem at all. And I will bring it up and put it on screen for you. But that's just my thoughts. But Jose, back down to you, sir. When it comes to Brandon Austin and Gunter, I agree with you. I think both of them have been absolutely excellent. Fraser Forster's still recovering from his injury. Do you think one of these I'm just looking at one of these as potential number 2 for this season between Gunter and Austin? And who do you think it will be?
I think it's quite clear that Forster is not our number 2. I think we've seen enough of Forster to know that he's not our number 2. And I've seen enough. I've seen enough in this pre-season with the 2 goalkeepers that have come in to say to me that, well, I think the person who's got the best chance of becoming the number 2 is obviously Brandon Austin. But I also think that Gunter has jumped the queue on Whiteman as well. And rightly so. I mean, Whiteman's gone out on loans out to Scandinavia. He's done all right in them loans. But is he a Premiership #1 goalkeeper or Premiership #2 goalkeeper? In my humble opinion, no, he's not. I think that #2 should be Austin, and Gunter should be in and around as well and involved as well, and be the #3. Or let them both battle out to be #2, however you want to look at it. But Forster and Whiteman, waste of space. Now, I understand that we've got them for homegrown and stuff like that, and academy trained and that. But we quite easily, if we're serious, and we quite easily could drop them two and upgrade some of the youngins from the B squad to the A squad. Also, if we think they're good enough as well. But yeah, I would say for me, Austin is the #2 at the moment.
Be interesting to see what happens in that battle. I think one thing is that Josh Keeley's certainly out of that running right now. He's been off with the under-21s, and he's older than Gunter as well. So it maybe looks like he'll probably head out on loan, and Austin would probably stay around, and then maybe Gunter will stay around as an under-21 goalkeeper yet again this season with the club, continuing to look and to develop him. Because I know last season he was up training with Vicario at times as well and doing clinics with Vicario. So be interested to see how we go about this. But I do think it looks like Brandon Austin will probably be #2. Look, Fraser Forster signed an extension midway through last season, so he'll be here this season regardless. And then Whiteman, he may as well be a road man, that guy. I mean, he does absolutely nothing at this football club. He's just kept around for box ticking exercises. But until we bring through club-trained, homegrown players like Mikey Moore Donnelly, this shit is going to keep continuing to happen.
But he got
David,
1 year. Sorry, you're right. He got 1 year, Forster. But we could cut that ties with that 1 year because it's not going to be big and massive. We could cut ties with that 1 year. Brandon Austin has just signed a 5-year contract. So if he's done that, and under Postecoglou's stewardship, Postecoglou must have seen something in him to give him that 5 years. So,
look, yeah, it'd be interesting. I think one thing he maybe likes with him is he's decent. I think he's okay with his feet. He's pulled off some good saves as well. Interesting to see what happens with that situation. But you're right. I think including Keeley, we've got 5, 6 goalkeepers. Way too many to be carrying. David Durrell says, Dave, you misunderstood by realist fan. I meant fans who are termed as negative. Look, people are entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to get into this negative, positive stuff, but I understand what you mean. To be honest, I don't understand why I get called out. I sit here, I have my complaints about Daniel Levy. I'm one of the only ones I reckon, in the Spurs community that actually sit there and call a player out for what he is, that call him shit. I have no problem calling out Johnson and Werner and stuff like that, which many people who are deemed to have them opinions and stuff also do. So I don't understand why I get called out, to be brutally honest. Maybe it's because I sit here and I get hyped up around game day, but if that's a crime, I mean, lock me up. I'm guilty all day long. But Dermo, I mean, for you, who's your standout player so far this preseason, buddy?
Everyone else is taking the ones I was going to say. Everyone's just taken. Look, I think the youngsters have done well. I've been impressed with Burville and Archie Gray. I have to say, Archie Gray looks like fantastic. I think Jed Spence, again, I agree with Ribsy and what he said in yourself and Jed Spence as well. Because I think Jed Spence was never really given a chance under Conte. He was like a pawn between two fighting egos, and he was just caught in the crossfire. And anyone's head's going to go fuck like that. Anyone's head's going to melt. So I'm not surprised he went the way he did. And we've got the player now we bought from Nottingham Forest when we bought him from there. And that at Middlesbrough, he had problems. He went to Forest, and we saw what Jed Spence can do. We're now seeing what Jed Spence can do. I agree with Jose about Gunter and Austin. I've been saying it on my channel for the last couple of weeks that Austin and Gunter will be used as the number 2, number 3. I've been shot down by my own co-hosts. I'm saying I'm talking bollocks, but I am not. I stick by that, and I think Foster's had his day. And I think we have to start looking at Austin and Gunter for me. And we've got Keeley as well, the young Irish lad who's going to be brought to the under-21s. So from an Irish point of view, I'd be interested to see how well he does there. Kulu, I think I want Kulu to go. I think we need to get him out to get players in, and I think he will go, possibly to Napoli. If not in the summer, then definitely in January. I think he's impressed with some of these little flicks and and Trixie's done, but he's better in the central role than he is on the wing. He plays central. We saw that on Saturday, how well he can play their little link-up play. And I think the whole squad looks better. I think Madison's impressed. I think Johnson looks good, though he needs to improve in his crossing. I'll give you. Werner, for me, hasn't looked good. He's played well, but he's wasted his chances where Johnson has taken his 2 goals and he's taken them through. He's got into positions where we want him to be. And I think generally the whole squad is getting there. And we have a squad of 30 players or 35 that can do really well in the league this year. We've got kids and experience. And everyone goes on about Fergie's class of 92. We've just got our class of 24. And we should cherish these moments and look after these players. And Andrew will look after the youngsters. The experienced players will look after them as well. And I think we need to be patient. And I hate using the word patient, but we will get there. And on the transfers as well, it's going to take time. I know it's frustration. I'm like Dave. I will call Levy out if he needs calling out. I'm very in the middle of the road with Levy. If he does well, I praise him. If he does wrong, we'll call him out. And Dave is right in what he said. But we're all fans at the end of the day. We all support this great club. We all have the same ambitions at the end of the day. We all want Spurs to be successful. So instead of bickering with one another or bickering with Dave or anyone that comes on to these shows and gives up their own time to put these shows together, let's get behind one another. Let's back each other up because we all support the same team. And I think what we're seeing now in pre-season is something we can all get behind. I've just been impressed with everything as well. And fair play to the fans that have gone over there following Tottenham all around pre-season. They deserve a credit as well, to be fair, because they spent a lot of money going over to the Far East. So fair play to them. So
like Ellie here, who see, trying to get to the Bayern Munich game and come all the way across from Japan. So fair play. If there is anyone that can help her get to the Bayern Munich game over in Korea, please do get in contact. But guys, are we getting carried away with what we're seeing? There is arguments out there. It's only Hearts, QPR, Cambridge, Vizsla, Kobe. Are we getting carried away with what we're seeing? And there is another massive question around the under 21s. They look good now, but are we getting too carried away again? Do we have to wait to see what they can actually provide when it really matters? We'll start with you, Ribsy.
Yeah, well, that's always the trouble with the young'uns, hey. And pre-season, lots of energy, trying to work their way into the team. We're not playing competition that's of that quality that we're going to be facing. So we can be caught out. That's the truth of it. And on top of that, when you got younger players, look, some of them are tough as nails. I mean, I've met 18-year-olds that could, they could stand toe to toe with any 30-year-old I've known. But also I've met 18-year-olds that have the body of a 14-year-old and they're just snap in half as soon as someone tackles them properly. So there's no way to know for sure. You can condition them in the preseason. You can run them out. You can do the training drills. You can do all the sports science to build the muscle and build the bone mass and all the other stuff and strengthen the ligaments and you can prepare them for them and make sure that their game time isn't the same that you'd give a 25-year-old in the same position, and you let them know that you're a growing man and you can't handle it in the same way that a full-grown player can. If it's managed, it's possible. Like they can come in and they can play. The ability is something that they just got to back themselves and do it on their own. There's a lot of people out there saying, they're worried about having all these kids in the team, and I've joked about the kindergarten team and so on and so forth. I'm on board. I want these young kids to grow into the team and to be brilliant, but we can't be under any illusions that this could be an absolute disaster. Like it just could. Even for those of us who are totally on board, we could have another Chelsea situation like we did last season, and have these kids not just be out, for a while. They could have their careers seriously hampered by being put into something that they're not prepared for. So, that's the job of our sports science teams and everything. We've got to have one of the best physio and sports science teams in the damn world. So they've got to be giving realistic, expectation to the players and also to to the coaching staff to let them know how much these kids can handle, and hopefully it's realistic and it's managed well.
No, 100%. And you're absolutely spot on. It does have to be managed well. The great Alex Ferguson used to dip them in, dip them out, start games, come off the bench in games and stuff like that to sort of manage their minutes across the whole season and, keep them grounded, I suppose. Look, one thing I would say to take away from it is there was a lot of questions. Are they good enough? Can they handle themselves at this level? I think what we've seen so far is they can handle themselves at this level. They don't take away from what we're trying to do. In fact, I'd argue they actually look a lot better in the system than what some of our senior players do right now. We're a lot more comfortable, especially going forward. They're a lot better on the ball and creating a lot more chances than our front line in the first half of games is. Now, of course, it's a different question, Can they make the step up to the intensity, the pace, the power, of the Premier League? That's a different question altogether. But what I would say is, what I find exciting about it is when push comes to shove, when we get injuries, suspensions, and we want to rotate players in cup games, I'd much rather put my faith in some of these guys than guys that we have in the past of a Dyer, Sanchez, Winksy, all them people like that. I'd rather put my faith into these guys. And I think they bring maybe a fresh enthusiasm and hopefully with how hell-bent they are on trying to make their way into the game and get into this first 11, actually push people, ahead of them. And if they don't, it's grand. We don't have to sit there and wait for Maddison and pray that he's going to do something. Grand. Fuck off. Go and sit on the bench. We'll bring on Bergvall. And for me, that's the way it should be. So I do think there is benefits to it, but I do take the question that many people are asking. Steve Wilson says, where's Eze? Fabrizio Romano's spent force. Look, I got there before Fabrizio Romano on Hook. Way before Fabrizio Romano. In fact, 24 hours or so before Fabrizio Romano. Not going to say he's a spent force, but, he's definitely slacking if someone like me gets there ahead of him. Stephen Whitaker or Timothy Whitaker, we will be talking about Kulu. I've actually 3 questions on Kulu because I think he's starting to make Dermo eat his words from last week, Timothy. So we'll have to have a good conversation on Kulusevski, that's for sure. Levy with a bevy, don't youngsters have to be 21 before they can be classed as homegrown in squad? So Ribsy broke it down actually in the chat, but basically you don't actually technically have to register anyone really under the age of 21. If you're smart enough and you've got the right options, you can actually register your 25-man squad and keep 30 of them in the under 21s if you want to and bring them into the squad. In effect, it actually allows us to have a squad of, way beyond 25 if that's what we wanted to do. Levy with a bevy. Big up the Big D. As always, great to see you and hopefully you're keeping well. Along with Chris Loney. Where am I going? Getting all my names wrong today. Great to see you, my man. We'll welcome in a couple more and then I have a few super chats that we'll bring up. We've got DJ Samuel. Great to see you. Anthony Lynch. Great to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Who else have we got here? Lord Rodney Trotter from where's Delboy? We need Delboy in as well. We've got Patrick Mervyn as well. Grateful for your work. Your platform brings quality discussion and performance-based arguments. On the squad is building and moving in a really positive direction. Come on, you Spurs. Really appreciate that feedback, my man. Absolute legend. We've got David Durrell says, what's the noise? Do you know what? It actually could be my fan in the background. And to be honest with you, I ain't turning it off today, even if Jack asked me. It's so warm. I can't do it. People are just going to have to put up with the inconvenience.
I can't hear you, Dave.
If someone is typing, we'll ask them to put themselves on mute when they are typing. We've got Foggy. Full morning, Dave and Panna. Great effort, y'all. Put up, always appreciate it. That's why the Werner signing makes no sense. Blocks the pathway for you. Playing more, should be getting his minutes. Look, I completely agree with you. I don't understand what the idea was by bringing Werner back to this football club. I don't think a lot of the questions around when he first came in is, can he be better than what he's shown at Chelsea and since he's returned to Leipzig? I don't think he's answered that, so I don't understand why we brought him in, but look, Foggy Foam, he's here for another season. Hopefully he can just do better than what we expect at this point. Got Dark Zone G, great to see you. As always, my man says, I'm getting ready to go to this game. Also, I think it's sort of a blessing in disguise of not getting players like Eze Neto yet because we get to see the youths. First of all, I hope you really enjoy the game. Please report back in after the game. Give us as much information on Hyuk as you can, what you've seen with your own eyes. Really excited to see him in action today. And hopefully you have a great day out. It's not every time Spurs get to go to your country and play games. I remember sometimes they used to come to Ireland. I used to absolutely love it. I used to feel blessed. So hopefully you go and enjoy that game today. do you know what? Maybe you're right in terms of, maybe it's a blessing in disguise not bringing in these players yet, because we have had to put the youngsters out there. We have had to put them on the test to see if they're good enough. And I think that's one positive you can take away. However, Dark Sung-Ji, I would say it's a fine balancing act. I do think we'd benefit over the course of preseason having a striker up there that the wingers can work with over preseason, because coming into a team in the forward area is one of the hardest positions you can come in, because, you have to link up with everybody. You have to get to know everybody's games, everyone's movement and stuff like that. So I do think there would have been benefited, especially in the forward areas, for us to get our signings in nice and early, because, look, I keep seeing Werner Johnson's son. Forward line doesn't work. When are we going to take the answers? It does not work together. So, I want to see Ange try something different, but is he going to try something different when he doesn't have different options here? You know what I mean? So it's a fine balancing act, Dark Sung-Ji, but I do understand the point you're trying to make, and I have no doubt a lot of them youngsters are very happy that we didn't make any signings so far. MV Joker Davies says, I was bored. Look, fair enough. You want to be bored and you want to help support the channel, I'll take it all day long. Big up, Eddie. Really appreciate it, my man. And then we also have this from Dark Sung-Ji. We have almost no Deadwood. They are good players, but doesn't fit the league or our system anymore. Giovanni Lo Celso, Skip, Gil off to Girona, Pereira and Højbjerg off to Marseille, Royal off to Milan, and Davies is still here. Look, I've given up on Ben Davies. He's going to stay regardless. I listen to a lot of podcasts with professional footballers speak, and they talk about the modern-day duties of a footballer, all the social media work, all the media work for the club. They don't want to be doing that. Is there any sort of coincidence that Davies is on nearly every single bloody video they put out? So if I'm a player, I'd love Davies for taking that responsibility off me. Thank you very much. I'm going home to my wife and kids. Thank you, Ben. In terms of all the charity work he does off the pitch, he's a great liaison for the club. Now, look, I'm the first one to say that shouldn't be enough to keep you around. You should always be judged on your football merit. And it's probably a sad state of affairs that we're keeping a player around because of that, rather than what he actually produces to the team. But it's indicative of a culture that we've had at this club for quite some time, Dark Sung-Ji, to be brutally honest with you. But I do agree with you. A lot of the Deadwood is going, and it is exciting in that regard. But they did fill up places in the squad, so we do have to replace a couple of them. Some of them will be filled out with the youngsters, but we still have to bring in a few more, Dark Sung-Ji. But you're right. I'm just glad we're getting rid of the absolute trough. I mean, it used to burn my eyes and drive me insane when I was watching two players that couldn't even pass the ball 5 yards between them, or if they did make the pass, the control is erratic. Everything about it was just erratic. They were weak, under pressure all the time, and that's because they were shit on the football, and then off the football, they didn't want to know. Remember Eric Dyer going down because he hurt his pinky and we were being broke on? I mean, back in the day, you would have been hauled off and you probably would have got your contract terminated for doing something like that, So I'm glad that we're starting to get rid of a lot of these guys. And look, whether people like Ange Postecoglou or not, I do think the football is better. I do think we play lovely football. It's just about us being more clinical with that football now, and that's why I keep campaigning. Ange Postecoglou needs to help. I don't care if he comes out and tells me the plan is still on and stuff like that. Great. But he still needs to help, and we can't lose sight of that. Ange is a magnificent manager, magnificent coach, which we're going to get onto, by the way, and I have reasons why I say that. But he can only take us so far with what he's got. He does need help, and hopefully we get that, Dark Sung-Ji. Big yourself up, my man. And then MV Joker Davies, somewhat ribsy. Dave reaction made it better. What's that in the response to? I don't know. But big up, Eddie. Really appreciate that. He says somewhat ribsy.
Yeah, Ribsy's put a comment up a bit further up, about 5 or 6, about 7 or 8
I just asked
up.
him if the $2 helped with his boredom.
Yeah, well, I do hope it helped you, Eddie. It must have worked because he's back again. But no, big up, Eddie. Really do appreciate the support, brother. Absolute legend. Of course, helped us massively over the Euros on the fan show last night as well. I'd argue getting better and better every time he comes on as well. It seems a bit more confident. So big up, Eddie. Really appreciate the support, brother. But look, guys, we'll keep it moving. So actually, let's get on to the conversation about Ange Postecoglou, guys. Many fans and pundits have questioned Postecoglou's ability since his arrival, with many calling him naive. However, both young and senior players have adapted to Postecoglou's system very, very quickly. as well as new signings, which is something that we haven't always been able to say or hasn't always been the case when they've arrived at this football club, combined with the integration of new coaches in the background. We've had a bit of a turnover since he's arrived, but yet, you know, he still had very quick success in implementing his system whilst progressing the club on the football pitch, which I think counters the narrative of Postecoglou being naive. We'll start with you, Jose. What's your thoughts on that?
I think, right, if I go back, and I have to look at this historically, if I go back and look what we were served up for the previous 4 or 5 years before he came along, it's Borefest. I used to hide behind the sofa, swearing profusely, sweating, and wanting to throw things at my TV, right? Because I was so frustrated. He's a breath of fresh air, comes in, plays front foot football, attacking football. And his philosophy of football is that easy. It's that easy. It's uncomplicated. And people buy into it. So the players are bought into it because it's uncomplicated. The fact, I think we were speaking off air as well, I'm not knowing that this question was going to come, we were generally saying off air that youngsters, to bleed youngsters in properly, you've got to give them the opportunity and let them make mistakes and learn from them. And Postecoglou says it as he does it, because he says he wants players to make mistakes, because players keep making mistakes, they'll rectify them and they won't make them going forward. So he's one of the managers that allows for that to happen, and it breathes through the first team that he's got from last season, now in pre-season now. But it also breathes through the youngsters within Tottenham's academy, that you can play freely, you can make mistakes, you know, and you can learn from them and move on. I think he's been a breath of fresh air. And as I said, it's uncomplicated. His methods, his philosophy is uncomplicated. And so we're not doing what we used to do before. You stand there, you don't move there. You can only go there if this happens. You can only do that. We're not having none of that. His coaching methods are totally different. And as I said, it's easy for anybody to learn and pick up. And we're seeing the benefits of that. And I will say also as well that having a proper pre-season, because last year's pre-season was a shambles. We didn't get enough minutes in the legs. We didn't play enough football. We ended up with postponed games because we've gone to countries in monsoon season. And when we ended up playing a pub team as well, this time round, we've had a proper pre-season. And, you know, it will bode well for us going into the season.
I bloody hope so. You know, last year was disrupted. We got off to a 10-game unbeaten start. Going to be very hard to replicate that, but with a better preseason, you would hope so. Gary, just quickly, Mr. Flynn, the game is at 12 p.m. Midday for people in the UK and Ireland, my man. So big yourself up on that. But Dermo, what's your thoughts on Ange Postecoglou? Because like I said, there was a lot made about him last year being naive when he first got the job. There was a lot of questions and speculation around his ability. You know, with the stuff that I've highlighted, I think only a great manager, a really good coach and manager can implement things as quickly as he done, along with the minimum, I'm not going to say success, but along with the joy and the improvements that maybe it's brought us. What's your thoughts?
Look, you and me have had because we're Celtic fans as well, you and me have had the luxury of watching them at Celtic. And I'm not going into this, or Scottish football's different. You have to beat what's in front of you up there. You've got to beat Rangers 4 times a year. You've got to beat the Knights. You've got to go to Aberdeen or Hearts or wherever, which are not easy place to go up in Scotland. So we've seen what he's done up there in a short space of time. He went into Celtic, they're a shambles, turned them around, won the treble in his last season. He's come into Tottenham, we were a shambles. And look what he's done within a year. Within one season, look what he's done. He's turned this around. He's made this exciting to watch. He's getting the deadwood out, which no other manager did, by the way.
True.
Conte, Mourinho, Nuno, none of them got the deadwood out. It was always, oh, Eric Dyer, come here. You can speak Portuguese. I'll keep you around. So fucking what? Do you know what I mean? These players were kept round, not for their footballing ability, because they had to keep him around. And just come in, right, I don't want him. I want them out. And to be fair to Levy, he's got them out. And to be fair to him, I think it's the first manager properly that he's really backed. And he backed him last summer with the signings we made with Van de Ven, with Vicario, with Destiny, and he's got the best out of Basuma. He's got the best out of Papasar. He gets the best out of players because he makes the players feel like a family. Alex Ferguson did the same thing back when Man United, back in the 90s and early 2000s. He would use their grandparents who worked down the mines. He would use them as inspirations. If you fail today, you let down your grandparents who worked down the mines, or that he uses family. And that is the one thing he's made Tottenham a family. They're all brothers. They're all for one, one for all. And we got this back in the early 80s. This is why I keep going back to the early Keith Burkinshaw years or the early Bill Nick years. Even the Arthur Rowe years when we won the league back to back, the second division and the first division, because they were a family. Doesn't matter what era or decade you're in. If you have the right team balance and the right team unity, nothing can stop you. Add a bit of skill to that, which he's doing. Add a bit of flair, which he's done. There's no stopping us. Because Ange is a winner. But he's a winner in the more... He's not a Conte winner or Mourinho winner. He's a winner in the more, I'm going to do it in style. Where Conte Mourinho was, as Jose Wright said, it was ball fest. We'll do it, we're part of the boss, and we'll win it that way. Ange wins it with flair. So I think there's a lot to be excited about. I think there's a lot to be happy about Ange. And Ange is a winner. He will win. But he's doing it the Tottenham way. And I think you've got to look back to Keith Burkinshaw, Bill Nick, and Arthur Rowe to really find other managers who have done it really successfully. And I think Ange is part of that. And we can. I'm just seeing David Clark's message. Dave, sorry, just for 2 minutes. I'll shut up then.
No, okay.
You can blame the owners all you want. You can blame Joe Lewis, who has nothing to do with the club anymore anyway. It's down to his family, his standing trust, so he has nothing to do with the club. We can blame whoever we want, but we were all shouting for good football. And then suddenly Ange loses a few games, or Ange doesn't know what he's doing. He has to be more defensive. But you can't have it both ways. You either want defensive football or you want attacking football. I want attacking football. So look, let's all get behind the team. Forget about all these politics. Forget about Levy and the board, because it's just fragmenting the fan base. We all need to be one to get behind this team, to get behind Ange Postecoglou and take us to glory. Because the only time we can do that is when we're all fighting in the same direction. And I think we need to get behind the team, and everything else will sort itself out eventually. Everything else, owners will come. Managers will come. One thing will stay is Tottenham Hotspur. And we're the owners. Us fans are the owners. We are the club, not everyone else. So let's get behind Ange, because Ange will bring us to success. Sorry for the rant.
No, 100%. No, 100%. I think you said some stuff that is absolutely spot on there, in terms of Ange Postecoglou has been one of the only ones to come in here and really get the deadwood and actually not use them to a point where the club have to get rid of them because they're on big wages and they don't want to be carrying them as reserve players. And, that's something me and Derek Sung G, I know, we're very, very happy with. Some of the shit I've had to watch was intolerable. It was like watching, a Sunday League rugby team rather than a football team with how bad we were. It was absolutely shocking. I think Ange Postecoglou has come here. I think he's brought many things of what fans wanted. Good football, someone that worries more about us than the opposition. I think brilliant. And you're right, fans were very quick to turn on the guy, after he lost a couple of games. But I do think that comes from, I think it's a bit of PTSD, to be honest, because once a manager starts losing a few games, we know how it usually ends.
Yeah.
But not only that, I think Ange is in a bit of a precarious position, because if he doesn't win anything, fans will be like, told you so, was never going to come in and do that when you look at his track record and stuff like that. But I also think sometimes how do I word it? Sometimes I think we put our problems onto Ange Postecoglou. Like, for instance, some of them losses, we're moaning at him going, he's not trying anything different. But it was up to the board in the summer when they appointed him to give him more players so that he didn't have to rely on shit that us fans have seen beforehand that have caused us the same problems. You know, I think it comes to a point you have to look at a manager and go, okay, there's a lot of good things here, but it's stuff that was here, problems at the club before he arrived, that's holding him back from succeeding. Now, we are getting closer to where we want to be, but this is a massive season for Ange Postecoglou. I think if he can have a great season this season, he turns many fans all onto his side. Right now, I feel like sometimes, you know, because of what's happened in the past, people are reluctant to get behind a manager or give their all to a manager because they feel like they know within a year or two he's going to be sacked. We're going to have the next guy in to try and rebuild again. So I do understand it from that point of view, you know. But I do, like I said, I do think Ange is a brilliant manager. But Ribsy, onto yourself. I mean, look, you probably have more experience with Ange Postecoglou than any of us. Of course, him being, you know, managing Barcelona, you know, with his great team there. You know, he was also Australian national team manager and the underage national team manager as well. Again, Ribsy, everything that I've pointed out, do you think it combats the naivety comments that have been thrown at Ange Postecoglou?
It's a difficult one because a lot of the people who had no confidence in Ange when he came in just weren't familiar with him because they either hadn't watched him in Scotland or obviously haven't watched Australian club football, because why the hell would you? I live in Australia and I don't watch it. So, and you know, they might have seen some work with the Socceroos, but they might have seen one or two matches. And how do you trust? I mean, we've just come from having Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, who, whether you agree with their football or not, are huge names in world football. Yeah. And Ange Postecoglou, you know, like he's a bit of a hipster pick. I mean, that people knew about him, but people were like, why would you pick this meme option instead of like a real manager? Because we just had two real managers and they both couldn't get it done. So how's this guy going to do it? So look, I get it. Like I'm not going to sit here and say, that it was completely unrealistic for people to be a little concerned. That said, a lot of those same people in that first, those first 10 matches of the season leading into around Christmas, when we were absolutely killing it, a lot of those people suddenly were starting to say, oh, we're going to win the league, or we're going to get top four, or it's going to be, a bumper season. It's going to be a brilliant season. It's like, well, and then getting upset with him when the same results didn't continue on to the end of the season, because as you said, we just didn't have the depth of player to really carry on that season and finish it off in the same way after copping so many injuries and so on and so forth. So, look, I have a little bit of sympathy for the people that didn't expect Ant to do a great job. But when I see the same names then flipping out about the drop in performance in the second half of the season, which by their own admission would have been more to their expectation leading into the season, then what the hell are we talking about? We're just whingers at that point, just absolute complaining whingers. And I got no time for that kind of person. When it's just whenever something's happening, you're advising the opposite and complaining, and then piping up when it goes your way and staying very silent when it doesn't. And it's just it's a very crappy fan type, that the armchair manager, and I get pretty bored with it. But apart from that, there's very reasonable complaints and lowered expectation that people had coming into the start of last season that I think was fairly reasonable. And when people were saying mid-table at the start of the season, I was like, yeah, okay, well, we're doing a rebuild. We just lost Harry Kane. That doesn't sound unreasonable. We outperformed that. And we outperformed that on a lot of it was on Ange's back, personally. So I think he's doing a pretty good job, personally.
Fair enough. And then Savage in the comments says, some were consistent and didn't carried away when we had a good 10 games. But you know what, Sav, I could also argue that, that you didn't want to see the progress in that 10 games, that you were almost waiting for the club to start losing games and stuff like that. I could argue the contrary here, to be brutally honest with you. look, when I was getting carried away, and I did get a bit carried away, I always said Tottenham would need massive luck and that we would need to avoid a lot of injuries for us to be able to get over the line in the first place and stuff like that. But look, I do see what you're saying. He says, rebuild, what is this guy talking about? Look, I was speaking to you yesterday, back and forth, behind the scenes, Sav. I do think Postecoglou is a good manager. I did tell you that. I think there is a lot of things that he's doing right. But, the transfers have to help. And I do think we are rebuilding in terms of, the squad and the direction we're going in. After Antonio Conte, we were a club falling backwards. We were regressing. We couldn't even string a couple of passes together. Avoided confidence, was shot. Absolutely shot. Since Postecoglou's come in here, he's done a very good job. Many people forget he lost the best striker in world football. And, although them problems came back to haunt us during the season, he's still done well enough for us to finish fifth, which means we're progressing. Of course, it's not a trophy. That's the end goal. That's where we all want to go. But sometimes, especially with our ownership, it takes time to build that. They're not going to give us 400 million. There you go and bring in the best players in the world, put them together in one team and go and win something. This is going to take a little bit of time because of our ownership. So I do think that we should be affording Ange a bit of time. I get the frustration towards the ownership. I'm not asking anybody to show them any grace or any favors, but I do think to Ange Postecoglou we should, because at some point you have to give someone a chance to be able to rebuild this, with the ownership that we've got. And, they're not going to, like I said, not going to give 500 million. You have to give someone a chance to come into this club and try and put things right. And we do forget they're also under restrictions from Daniel Levy in terms of what they can and can't do. And I do think Paratici has helped this club progress. Postecoglou has helped this club progress. Hopefully we see a bit more. Let's wait and see. But I suppose this season will tell. But like I said, I do think Postecoglou is a good manager, and that's replicated by how quickly players adapted to his system. That's replicated by the improvement on the football pitch we've seen, from a lot of these players. That's all the new signings that have come in. A lot of them are fitting in very nicely, which is something we never used to see at this football club. It took them a long time for them to settle in or do anything for this football club. The youngsters, the way they've come straight into the system, and it's benefited them. In other managerials reigns gone by, Postecoglou, Jose Mourinho and stuff, it wasn't that easy to jump from the under-21 straight into the senior team and adapt to what they're asking them to do. The under-21s have done it seamlessly, so I do think there is the basis of a really good manager there. But like I said, he can only bring us so far. He needs help in this window. He needs a proper forward, a proper striker. He needs a proper creative player, maybe someone like Eze, a bit different to what we've got, that bit what Mikey Moore offers, actually. They can get on the ball and take players on, because we're going to come up against a lot of low blocks next year because of the way we play. We just force teams back, whether they want to sit back or not. So you have to have tricky players that can deal with the ball in tight spaces. So I think we get a couple of them. We should, it should help Ange Postecoglou progress this football club. Anyone else want to come in on any of that stuff there? No. No problem. We'll keep it moving. So, and then I'm miles behind in the comments. Don't worry, guys. I will catch up with them. We have this from Faz Radfar. Says, Royale and Reggie going. We've a clean slate, Lo Celso and Davies. Look, Lo Celso should have been gone a long time ago. Same with Ben Davies. Like I said earlier on, I gave my reasons why I think Ben Davies is going to be kept around. None of it is football and related, which is shocking, but he'll stay. The experiment with Lo Celso has to go. If he cared, he would have been back from preseason already, just like Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea. And I know it's not a good time to be using him as reference. Don't get me wrong. But he's back. We're still waiting for our players from Argentina to get back. We're still waiting for Van de Ven to get back. Oh, especially Bentancur as well. Bentancur and Lo Celso, two players who have a point to prove to want to get into this lineup. I would expect them to be back, especially for this Korea leg of the tour, and they're not. So I question, how much do they actually really care about progression this season and the message that Ange Postecoglou and some of the other players have been trying to put out, which is to go and win trophies. Fans at Radfar, but big yourself up. We've also got Hennessy member for 20 months. Really appreciate the longevity of the support, buddy. Says, hey, all looking forward to today so I can watch a friendly live. Hope all the beautiful members of the panel are well, and come on, you Spurs. Morning, lads and lasses. Hennessy, good morning to you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Hopefully you're enjoying the day. I'm not going to lie, it's a very warm day over here in Ireland. I am melting a little bit. It's really, really warm. Hopefully you enjoy your day and everybody else out there does. And hopefully we can get a nice big win under our belt today, Hennessy. That would be absolutely brilliant. I want to see that first team score a lot more goals and contribute a lot more goals than what they have been. That's what I'm looking for today, is whoever Ange picks in that front line. I want to see them a lot more creative and a lot more clinical. I don't think, we can sit here and say, yeah, it's only preseason, it's about fitness. But the problems we got in that forward line is more than fitness. It's the quality. It's a quality issue. It's not to do with fitness. You can be unfit, and if you're a great player who knows how to manipulate a ball, control it, spray it about, sometimes you can get away with not being fit because your quality is so much better than everybody else's. So, I do think we have problems in that area, Hennessy. I would actually like to see Mikey Moore given a chance on the right-hand side with Son off the left and Kulu through the middle at this moment in time with what we've got. But let's wait and see what happens. I'm just sick of the failed experiment of Werner and Johnson. And IPNILI says, the amount of goals we left on the table last season because of average front line was unbelievable. People forgot that when we look back on the losses last season. Look, that's why I've been campaigning all summer, my man, that I think we need proper forward lines. I think it'll help elevate Ange ball to a new level. It'll help us be a lot more clinical and kill teams off when we're in that dominant spell that we usually have every game. And then Shane Bapu says, talking about expectations, what are yours? Look, my expectation every season is to try and go and win a trophy, to be brutally honest, whether that's a Premier League, one of the domestic cups, or go and have a good run across Europe. That's my expectations. Probably unrealistic, given how good Guardiola is with Man City and stuff like that. But look, my expectation is what the manager said. Well, I want to challenge for a title this season, to be brutally honest with you, Shane. That's where I'm at. I definitely want to win a trophy. It's been too long. It's some of the, I remember Jonathan Woodgate against Chelsea, one of the greatest days of my lifetime, sitting there, lifting a trophy, looking at all the United fans and everything around me, just going, do you know what? Take that one. You give it to me every single year. You sit there, you be humble and take that. I want to be that guy again. So hopefully we can get that over the line this time around, Shane. Big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the support. Guys, Yang Min Hyuk, who was identified by our scouting department, not Ange Postecoglou, will start against Tottenham today. I mean, how do we feel about Hyuk playing against his future teammates in today's match? And what are we looking to see from the guy? We'll start with you on this one, Ribsy.
Sorry, mate. Hit me with that again. My sound
Hyuk.
cut out.
So Hyuk is starting today. We're expecting them to start today.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about him getting on against his future teammates in today's match? How do you feel about him playing against them? But also, what are you looking to see from this young kid?
Oh man, I'm just super excited to see him. I mean, I've seen some clips and stuff, but I haven't seen the kid play. So this couldn't have happened better, right? We get to see him play. We get to see him play against, players that we're obviously familiar with. So we can genuinely judge sort of where he's at. Obviously, it's not a proper competitive match, so that's got to be tempered properly. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see him run out. I was in the fan show. I was talking with Jack, and he says he was worried that he might be a little bit over ambitious, and there could be a potential for him to do some damage to one of our players, which I properly told him. Now, if that happens, that is absolutely Jack's fault. So make sure everyone knows that. But apart from that, I'm just excited to see him. I think that this is if it wasn't planned, then it's a happy circumstance. And if it was planned, then that's pretty brilliant, right? Being able to see, you get the signing done when we're over in their country, and then we get to watch him play against our team in a friendly, week or so later. I think that's good work. I'll be happy to see it.
Darmo, what are you looking for from this youngster today?
I'm looking forward to him. I really can't wait to see what he's like. As long as he doesn't try to go an injured son, try to nick his place for the January, then I'm happy. Look, I think he's a good young sign now. I'm looking forward to see what he's like, and just see what he can bring to the team, and just to see what we're getting, because I think it's a sensible decision to get him from a commercial point of view as well. And I think that is it. Though people say it's not a commercial signing, it's half a commercial signing. Let's be realistic. And I think it's also a replacement for Sonny as well. So I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to him, see what he can bring. And he's supposed to be the next wonder kid out of South Korea. So I'd rather him come to us. And he turned down 6 Premier League clubs to come to us. So it must say something about us that these youngsters want to come to us all the time. It must say something about the club, what Angie's building.
No, 100%. I think, the fact that Dragusin picked Tottenham over Bayern Munich, Bergwall picked Tottenham over Barcelona, and this guy has picked Tottenham. I believe there was a top 6 club rumor to be interested in. I've heard some people say City, not sure how true that is, and that he's chose Tottenham Hotspur is great to see. But I do think these are signings they could have announced further. See, this is my problem, I get it. In terms of financial aspect, it makes sense when you're out in Korea to announce this signing, right? Because it generates shirt sales and everything out there for them on this preseason tour alone. But this is where the club doesn't help themselves. They could have waited and held this back until they got other signings in the door that affected the first 11 and then announced this. And I don't think there would be as much as an uproar about it as there is now. But you're definitely right. There is definitely that commercial aspect to it. Like I've said many times, look, Son is absolutely instrumental in the record-breaking profits that we post every year from commercially and stuff like that. And, in order to keep that going, they have to find the next star from, an area that is waiting to explode onto the footballing scene. So it looks like that's what they're trying to do because, they've got that mortgage on the stadium and they have to meet them repayments. And this is a way of helping them. So that's a large part of the deal behind it. But I have had a lot of Koreans get in touch and they have said this guy is genuinely quality.
I've seen a lot of it. I've done a bit of research into this young lad, and this lad is the next best thing. And I agree with you. Maybe they could have announced it at the end of the window. And I can't disagree with that because that's a great comment to make and probably is the right comment to make as well, Dave. But I think if you're in Korea, I think they thought it'd be a good time to announce this signing while they're in Korea. Just give them a bit of fanfare. And I do believe that. So, but look, it is what it is. And as I said before, let's just get behind the team. Let's leave the politics and the crap to one side, and let's just get behind the team because we're going places. And let's be all one for a change instead of fighting amongst ourselves. I think because we have to. If we get behind this team and we get behind what we can do this season, it's frightening what we can achieve under Ange. Hang on.
Jose, where are you at with Hyuk, my man? Sorry about that, Dermot. I did respond, but my mic went on mute there. Jose, Hyuk, what do you want to see from him today to maybe convince you that, this kid, long-term with the right development, can make it at Tottenham?
So, for me, I agree with a lot of what people have said already. I agree with a lot of. He has been identified by the scouting team, not by Ange, and I agree with pretty much what the three of you have said before me. But yeah, I've seen clips of him because I've never heard of the player before in my life until we signed him. Then you see all the clips for him. In the clips, he looks really exciting. He looks like he likes to go at people. He looks like he goes both ways. When we played against Vissel Kobe, at the same time he was playing for his club side, Gangwon FC, and you saw a goal that he'd scored and an assist at the same time that we were playing that came out there. So yeah, in the flesh, it would be nice to see what we've bought. It'd be nice to see what the reason why we bought him and that. But will we get to see much because he's not playing for a club side, is he? He's playing for an invitational 11, so you don't know how much gelling there's going to be between them and that. And obviously, you're going to be playing up against a team that, for all intents and purposes, should have a better side than them. But again, it's still interesting to see what we've bought ourselves. We buy players, and they're not coming to the club for an amount of time. And it would just be interesting to see how they're doing. So they're not so far away from us. And I'll include Vuskovic in this. Vuskovic played last Saturday's first game against Cercle Bruges for Westerlo. Yes, saw the highlights because otherwise you forget about these players. We've bought players, whether they're for the future or not. We've bought players, but because they're not within our club at the moment and they're not within the first 11 and they're not within the squad, then you can actually forget about them. So that's one of the things that social media does help us out, and it means that we can view and we can see other players from afar. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting what happens today.
Look, I want to have a look at the kid and see, how he gets on and stuff like that. Let's wait and see. But look, let's keep it moving. Let's get on to talking about Radu Dragusin. Of course, he does return today. Ashley Phillips, I think, is expected to miss out through injury today. So Radu Dragusin, as it stands, is our only fit centre-back, and he does return after his performance at the Euros. But there's a few discussions I want to have about Radu Dragusin. What does he need to try and do over the course of this preseason to try and nail down a starting spot at centre-back to dislodge a Romero or a Van de Ven, which is a huge task to do. But also, after watching Dragusin's performance for Romania at the Euros, social media was rife with Ange needs to switch to a back three to include Radu Dragusin. So they're the discussions I sort of want to have. So people feel free to get your thoughts in the comments. But we'll start with you on this one, Jose. I mean, look, Radu Dragusin, like I said, is available today, but what does he have to do in this preseason to show that he can dislodge a Van de Ven or Romero? Because it is a good partnership, Van de Ven and Romero. Don't get me wrong, we conceded a lot of goals last year, but I think certain tweaks to the formation can make us a bit more stable. But I do think we've got two very good centre-halves there. So what does Dragusin have to do to dislodge one?
Well, I think if you listen to Dragusin, right, and not listen to his agent, and you listen to what Dragusin's had to say, Dragusin, by his own words, has turned around and said it has been pretty difficult coming to Tottenham. It is a different team and a different level to what he's been used to, and he's had to learn a lot, and he's still learning. That's come from him. So, I mean, his agent's telling you something different. His agent's saying, well, you should be getting game time, otherwise we're going to be looking elsewhere. So his agent's saying something totally different to what the player's saying himself. For me, I mean, it's difficult because you've got a good partnership there in the two that we've got already. But it should be about, and this is everybody, it's not just the positions that we're talking about now. It should be about having people that come in and compete for positions and compete for places. If you're not on it, or your form has dropped, or someone else is better in training now, then you switch the players, and that's down to him. And I think he's got belief in himself. He's got belief. The lad's got belief in himself. It's down to him to dislodge and get a place in that team. With a doggy being out injured, although they said he's probably done the last couple of training sessions, if a doggy is about to be injured or hasn't got enough minutes in his legs, then you may see Dragusin play at centre half and Van de Ven go at left back through a doggy being out. That is at the moment. But if a doggy's then back fit, then I can see it being the back four that played for us last season. And it's down to people like, if Jed Spencer's going to stay, it's down to people like Jed Spence, Dragusin, and any others that we may have before the start of the season to try and dislodge the back four from last year. But it's good. It's competition. But for me, the two that finished the season last season are the two that start this season for me, and it's up to him to dislodge. But that's what we want. We've all been crying out for competition for ages. Someone that will come in and provide competition and affect the first team, not someone that comes in and will just be gladly sit on your bench and earn their money and not care. We've actually got players that can compete against each other, and that's what we want. But for me, the first two are still ahead of him.
Interesting. Just quickly, we'll take this from Jacob Anderson. Says, I think Spurs need Eze and Tony to take the next step. I don't see a reason that they shouldn't get it done. Look, I'm completely with you. I think them two players immediately improve us in the forward area completely, 100%. And I think it will help us try and bridge the gap towards an Arsenal, towards a City. And you might even have to keep an eye on Aston Villa this year to a large degree as well. And look, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't get it done. Look, I've said this for a long time. The club need to improve the homegrown side, the English quote and stuff like that. So it makes sense that Antonio and Eze are on the list. But we're just taking the piss and getting it done, to be brutally honest with you, Jacob. Hopefully we get it done by the end of the window. But again, if you leave it too late, does that have repercussions on the season? Probably will. So, Jacob, sooner rather than later, my man. But Ribsy, Oza did say that he thinks Romero and Van de Ven will regain the partnership, and they probably will. But Radu Dragusin has an ideal opportunity. None of them are back for preseason. None of them, he's going to have the leg up on them in terms of fitness. Do you think Radu Dragusin should be looking at this as now, this is his opportunity, rather than sitting there waiting for Ange Postecoglou to switch to a back three, which I don't think he's going to do?
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of Ange, and I don't think I've ever seen him play a back three, at least not willingly. It's possible I've missed it, and he has, because I wasn't watching a whole lot of Brisbane Roar and that back in the day. But look, of course he should be playing to try and get a starting position. If he's not doing that, then what's he doing? That's his job as the second string right-sided centre back, if you want to call him that, or he obviously plays on the left side as well. But if he's not trying to take that position from someone who is clearly, well, not the best centre back in the world, but one of the best centre backs in the world, maybe you could put him in the top 10 if we want to be non-controversial. But like, if he's not doing that, then he's not doing his job to try and get into the starting team at Spurs. And I don't think that the system is going to adapt to. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it's one of the few positions on the field where we actually have the depth that we should be asking for in every position on the field. And suddenly everybody is bending over backwards to try and adjust the system so that it's no longer depth. It's now our starting 11, and then we lose our depth that we have in that position. So I think that I think it would be mad for us to start playing a back three. Look, Ange might do it. I mean, he sometimes does crazy stuff. I mean, putting Decky through the middle against City was probably unexpected to most people, and it worked. I mean, we didn't win, but it worked pretty well. So he's got a few surprises in him, sure. As a lot of people say, I think that the more likely option there is to have Van de Ven play out on the left, which unfortunately puts us in a position where we don't have Udogie on the field. So obviously, due to an injury or suspension or something, that might be an option. I've heard people say playing either probably Romero in a defensive midfielder role could be another option. I think that's crazy when you've got someone who is as good as he is, who can play, who plays so comfortably all the way up through the field, is happy to take on players when he's dribbling, and has got a great pass and great vision. Obviously, he could play as a defensive midfielder. I don't think anyone's arguing that he couldn't, but he's just so good at where he is. Just don't, don't upset that, in my opinion. I think Radu Dragusin has shown that his ability in the Euros and in the bits and pieces we've seen from him at Spurs, that he has a lot more to offer than he's shown us so far. So that's something that we need to harness. So, I think especially with a lot of these Euros fixtures and stuff we've got, and cup fixtures and stuff, I think that having a good discussion with Romero and with him, and with Dragusin, obviously, and letting them know that they're going to be sharing a bit of the game time in order to keep Romero from getting a bit jaded with the amount of football that he can play in a season. I think it's a good idea to let them know that Dragusin's going to start some games, and hopefully that'll work out. But I can't imagine it's going to a back three. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just can't.
Look, I don't see it personally. Look, I understand the cause for it, with the amount of goals we conceded last season, but I do think, that there's a couple of problems that can be solved in terms of the forward line being more clinical. Maybe a tweak or two with one of the fullbacks or that CDM would solidify us. But, I get the cause of people asking for him to come into a back three. But then we'll know when we have the back three that we've no strength in depth behind it. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to have strength in depth. Radu Dragusin, don't get me wrong. I think if he can prove aerially dominant, I think maybe he gives Postecoglou a decision to make. One thing last season we lacked, and it's been longer than last season, is aerially. Could see too many goals from corner kicks, free kicks into the box, crosses into the box. No one really has the guile or the bollocks to go up and challenge, because you get hurt doing it. And Radu Dragusin aerially, I think if he can prove that dominance, he might give Postecoglou food for thought. But for me, I don't understand the calls to a back three, to be brutally honest. You're asking a manager to do something he's never done before, and I don't think he's going to do that. I think it's stupidity, to be brutally honest. Just because we've got 3 good players at centre-back, it doesn't mean we have to fit them all in the team at once. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be suspensions. There's going to be plenty of game time for Radu Dragusin to get opportunities. Then from there, it's up to him to be absolutely unbelievable, where he takes them opportunities and, basically makes himself undroppable. And that's the way it should be at Tottenham Hotspur. Just because he's, showing decent form for Romania, it doesn't mean we should be sitting there demanding he's straight into that first 11. People do it with Giovanni Lo Celso. But what has he done for this fucking football club? Absolutely nothing. But you hear how great he is on international level, so I'll be very hesitant. For me, it's about him proving it in a Tottenham Hotspur jersey. Dermo, Dragusin for you, my man. Again, what does he have to do to get into the centre-back spot this season? And, should Ange Postecoglou, consider switching to a back three system at Spurs to get Radu into the team?
I'll answer your second question first. No hell's chance do we want a back three. We know what that was like under Conte. I mean, it don't work. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the best defenders in the world. It doesn't work. And I don't think it won't suit us. We'll be playing defensive football again. So stick to a back four. That's what we're used to. And I think I don't know if I'm right in this, but most teams now are going back to a back four, where they're changing the formations. They start with a 4-3-3 or 4-1-2, whatever formation. I think you put Romero as the 6 and put Rudu as the centre-back. There's a other option. And there has been talk about pushing Romero into the defensive midfield. That could happen. I think he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. You look how he played for Romania. He was outstanding in some of the games for them. He's a great defender. No player's going to come into the Premier League and hit the ground running straight away. It's going to take me a season to get used to the pace of the Premier League adjustment. In case if you move from another country to England as well, it's going to take time to you to adjust to living in the UK and new environment. So it's going to take him time. And some players get it quicker than others. And with Rudu, he's probably just taken him a year to get used to things and to get settled and that. And we're probably going to see the best of him this season. And I think he's just got to do what he's doing. Keep plugging away. You'll get your chance. There's plenty of games this season. So there's going to be plenty of resting players before important games and getting game time. So I think he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. It's great to see him back today. If he plays, or he might come on in the second half, we don't know because he's only just back from the Euros. And we won't see the rest of the guys back to Tottenham Hotspur way. I think on Monday they drew back Romero and all of them. But look, Rudu's got the skill to become a great defender. He's just got. I think it's just going to take time, in my opinion, and he will get there. And they just keep doing what you're doing. And he's proved he can defend. He's proved he can do a job. And that's all we've wanted. We always wanted a backup, or not even a backup, but squad players that can come in for other squad players and do the same job. He can do that. So, he will get his chance this season and we'll see where we go. But I think if you listen to his agent, I mean, his agent needs sacking, to be fair. That's the first thing I would do is sack his agent. I
was just going to say, I don't think his agent's going to give us the time to get Radu Dragusin into the team, to be brutally honest. He'd do well by getting rid of that agent. Just quickly, I want to address this comment before I head back to the Spurs analyst. It says, Dave, I don't agree with Sava's views, but if you are not inviting him for debates, then it's not right, mate. First of all, and I want Sava to back me up in the comments for this, before he left YouTube for a little while, I'd reached out to Sava to do a weekly show with him, one on my channel, one on his channel. And then, obviously something, whatever happened, and Sava took his break from YouTube. So, I want Sava to back me up on this. I've got the messages to prove it, no problem whatsoever. So it's not like I'm not inviting Sava on for debates whatsoever. That's where it was last left. I was only on his channel last week doing a preview for him. He did ask me to go on yesterday, but unfortunately I had things I had to take care of that I couldn't. So I'm not avoiding Sava or debating Sava whatsoever. So I think that comment's unjust. And Sava, I'd hope you'd back me up in the comments on this one, because I'm telling the truth on this one completely. But we get back to Spurs. Danielist, big up, Dave. Let's hope we see today and start with the closest first-team players as possible, preparing for the new season. More over Werner. First of all, big up Spurs analyst. Really appreciate the support, my man. Look, this is one of my criticisms with Ange Postecoglou. He seems to persist with Werner, Son, and Johnson, and it just doesn't work. He needs to take no for an answer. Kulu went up front the other day. It looked a bit better. Ideally, you want a natural striker in here, but look better with Kulu up top. But Johnson's still on the right-hand side, just still isn't good enough. I would like to see Mikey Moore come in, to be brutally honest. But did Kulu only play up front because Werner was injured? Now that Werner's back, does he come back in? And do we go back to a front line of Werner, Son, and Johnson? And that's something that, if Ange Postecoglou remains stubborn on, somewhere along the season, it's going to come back to bite him and could end up costing him his job further down the line. So that is one thing I think he needs to find the right ingredients for, is that front line. Look, I maintain he needs signings, he needs help, but I do think he should make a brave decision today and go with Moore, Son, and Kulu, and let's see if that looks any better. If it doesn't, fair enough, I eat humble pie, I take it, but I want to see him try something different with that forward line and stop persisting with the same players that don't work, Spurs analyst, to be brutally honest with you, because like I said, I think it'll come back and haunt him, and I think all it'll do is just, look, a lot of fans know they're not good enough either side, Werner and Johnson. All it's going to do is just amplify them more, piss them off more, and then eventually it's going to lead to cause for his head. So I do think Postecoglou would be wise in making a change like that. Look, is Moore ready to start every single game over the course of the season? No, of course not. He's going to have to start games and come off the bench and that. But when he gets the ball, he just has more end product with Johnson. I trust him to deliver that end product than I do other players, Spurs analysts. So hopefully that happens, my man. Big yourself up. And we've got Shamu Van der Woo says, member for 6 months. Really appreciate the support, Shamu. Come on, you Spurs. Another preseason trophy incoming. Big up the panel, Ribsy, representing the Down Under. Look, we seem to be king of preseason trophies. The Tiger Cup, the Walter Till Cup, the Aldi Cup, the one we won the other day, and hopefully the Kopang Play Series as well. Shamu Van der Woo. I mean, look, it's embarrassing, really, but, at least every preseason we get to, get a taste of some sort of silverware, I suppose. It's embarrassing, though, Shamu. Look, you never know. Let's wait and see what happens. The Kopang Play Series, hopefully we can win that as well. My man, big yourself up, Shamu. Guys, I want to have a little bit of a conversation about Donnelly. He has shown versatility and tactical intelligence, putting in some impressive performances, playing out of position at left back while still being able to showcase his attacking talent. Postecoglou now has a dilemma in either keeping Donnelly around this season, which most likely his game time will come about first in the cup competitions, or allow him to go out and gain experience through a loan move. Dermo, we'll start with you. What do you think we should do with Donnelly this summer?
I think we should keep him around. Keep him around the first team. There's no point putting him out on loan. What's another loan going to do? Just he's not going to get experience with Ange and these training methods and the first team. So I think just keep him around and see what we can do. Keep all the kids around. I think Lancashire's gone out on loan, hasn't he? Is it him that's gone out on loan?
I think they're talking about sending him out on loan, or there's a lot of championship clubs across Europe and League One clubs interested in him.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't send them out on loan. I'd keep them. I'd keep all the kids in the first team, because we're going to need them at some point. And also, if you're playing, say, a lesser good side in the early rounds of the cup competitions, it's good to give them experience and doing it that way as well. So look, I think send them out alone. What they're achieving, just minutes in legs. They're not there training under Ange every day. They're not around the first team. They're not getting experience of being around the first team, getting experience of match days within the squad. And I think that would do them better. And then send them out to some team in the Championship or League One or League Two, and then ended up getting injured, and then they're out for 6 or 8 months. That's not doing them any good. So it's not doing us any good. So keep them around, and I think they've proved they're good enough to stay within the first team and play for the first team. So that's what I do. I wouldn't send them out on loan. The under-21, some of them, send them out on loan. But if you reach the first team, keep them within the first team. Let them get the experience of being within the first team and take it from there.
Look, Interesting. Look, personally, I would keep him around. I think if you loan him out, I think you lose the player. Like a lot of our loan moves, for some of these youngsters in years gone by that have come through, with maybe a similar reputation. So I agree with you. I'd like to keep him around. I'm guessing the fact that he's being playing out of position, I think Ange Postecoglou trusts him, is well aware of his football intelligence and his ability. And further, I think maybe kept around and further down the line would probably get opportunities in his preferred position. That's my hope anyway, because I do think we've got a serious player there. For the under-21s last season, I saw him replicate some of the greatest goals ever scored. Of course, at under-21 level, it's a bit different, but he done a David Beckham, against Liverpool last year in the run to the cup final. He done an Eric Cantona against Man United in an under-21 game during the league. Some of the passes that we've seen on display at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium have been De Bruyne-esque. This boy has serious talent. It's just about how Spurs nurture that, develop him to a point where he can come in and, start bringing this to the first 11. But I think he's done a pretty good job at left back so far, to be brutally honest with you. And for me, I would love this kid to be kept around and given an opportunity. I mean, Ribsy, where do you stand on it, lad?
Yeah, I mean, with the proviso that he's going to get some football, because it's a waste to just have him train and not get any football. I would expect that he would if he hangs around. I think Ange is the kind of guy who identifies those needs in the players and makes sure that they get involved in some way, shape, or form. But look, if Ange, hand on heart, is going to say to himself that I'm not going to find an opportunity to really give this kid a proper amount of football, then yeah, that's the time when they need to make sure that he's out and somewhere where he's getting football. Maybe that means, we hang on to him until January. And if he's not getting enough football, we send him out for the second half of the season, maybe. Yeah. I'm not sure. But if he hangs around and he's getting football, then yeah, he should be with us. Absolutely. That's, we've got to get he's been at the club for quite a while now. I'm sure that he's classified as a club grown player. Not that matters at his age at the moment anyway, but I'm saying that sending him out on loan wouldn't affect that. But still, I think that if we've got a use for him, then why not? Let's keep him in the team. He's going to keep developing around players that that get the system, that get him, and I think that's the sensible way to go. But then again, obviously that's with the expectation of football. If there's no football, he's got to go on loan. He's got to play. That's he's too much talent to just sit there and get cobwebs on him like Skip or whatever. So
I 100% agree with you. Look, what have we got to lose by keeping the kid around to January and reassessing at that point? Of course, if you're going to keep him around, there has to be a view to giving him game time to help him develop. And I'm not saying just throw him straight in there in a Premier League game from the off. We're going to have cup games, Carabao Cup. Hopefully we get by the first round this year, but also Europa League. And as the season goes on, the more games you play, the more it comes in on your legs and the more you need fresh energy coming through. But, in around that October, November, December period, there's a lot of games that come thick and fast, injuries, suspensions, etc. That's where I'd be aiming for these kids to be getting their game time and come and make an impact. So if there is plans to develop them, definitely keep them around. If not, like you said, get them out on loan. But Jose, Football Heritage TV, aka Sava. By the way, thanks for backing me up in that. Just quickly, before I come back to your comment, I just want to take this. I just want to address this from Julian Cafferson. Dave, why are you not getting Sava to join the debate? Look, for anyone that knows me, I've always done 4 people debate shows, where it's 4 people on screen. I think once you get more than 4, personally, I think it becomes messy, people shouting over each other. I think the topics of the discussions become way too long when everyone wants their say on it and stuff like that. So I prefer to have 4 people on my panels. No problem. If Sava wants to come on at some point and he wants to have a debate or discussion, no problem. I'll get him on. But the reason why today is, and I've been consistent with this all along, I prefer to have 4 panels. I've been like that from the very beginning, and I've said it. So, I'm not hiding anything whatsoever. But on to you, Jose. Sava does say proof is in the pudding. If these kids are good enough, as everyone says, then play them when it counts. Not only not easy preseason games, if not out on loan. So again, I mean, what do you think we should do with Donnelly? But not only Donnelly, some of these other youngsters, Jose.
Yeah, I think. Listen, they're a good crop of youngsters. There's no getting away from that. We've actually seen it with our own eyes. They're a good crop of youngsters. However, let's be real. You can't have 12 youngsters in and around the first team squad because they're not going to get the game time. So I think Tottenham's coaching team, I think they know about their players already. They've seen enough already.
Yeah.
They don't have to see it. They already know from the academy and what you've seen in pre-season. And they've got to make wise choices. I think a lot of them will be wasted going back to playing academy football. I think they're too good for academy football, some of these players. And what the Tottenham coaching or academy guys need to do is actually pigeonhole some of these players and think to themselves, what's the best course of action for them? And if it's a loan, where do we loan them to? Are they too good for a League Two side? Too good for a League One side? Are they Championship level? Are they foreign level? I.e., in the sense like we did with Troy Parent, sent him out to Holland. You know, they've got to make that decision. They're not all going to stay with the first team. So let's get that all out of the way. They're not all staying with the first team, but it's picking and choosing the paths that are best for the player and for the development and for their game time, and also ultimately the best for Tottenham in the going forward in the future. I hear what Ribsy said, that sometimes you might keep a player, and if they're not getting the game time in the first by Christmas, then they could be loaned out in the second half of the season. I would much prefer, if you're going to loan a player out and you have belief in where you're sending them and what you're doing, I'd rather the player be loaned for the season, full stop, just go out for the whole season, and not have come back halfway through. And the only way you'd put halfway through come back is if they haven't had game time and stuff like that. But otherwise, that's the only proviso. The only cut-off point for me is you send them out on a season loan, some of these players, and the only reason you'll come back is if you're not getting the game time, or if you've got an injury, because it's the parent club that should pick up the injury. I think Donnelly is one of those that probably does deserve a chance. Was with the first team squad last year. He is adaptable. We've seen that from him playing from at left fullback. He is adaptable. He's got a lovely left foot. It's interesting because we bought him as a forward, I think, and he's then gone from forward to the 10 role, then as an 8, and now he's playing as a 3. So he is adaptable. So with him, I'd like to think that he stays around the first team for at least till Christmas. And the other one would be Mikey Moore. I can't see any of the other youngsters staying, to be honest. If I'm fair, if I'm going to be truthful, I think a lot of them will go out and be loaned to further their development and careers, because obviously Bergwall and Gray will be part of the first team. But then all the others, although also saying that, I think one of the forwards will probably end up staying until at least Christmas. I think Lancashire will go out on loan. I think he's only 19, but he's way too good for PL2 or PL1, whatever we're going to be in this season. And it's just selecting the right division and the right football to send him to that will test him and will improve him as a player. I also think Dane Scarlett will go out as well, to be honest. I think he's going to go out as well. And we've already had, what's his name? Vitesse Arnhem or someone in Holland have already inquired about taking him on loan for the whole season. And I think the one that stays, Lancashire, the one that stays will probably be Valiz until Christmas. Divine's another one. If Divine's going to get, because someone's put in Divine, if Divine's looked tidy in pre-season.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is pre-season, and what I've said all along is that with pre-season, okay, so it's not Premiership teams you're playing against, but there's a reason why you're playing these pre-season games, and part of it is to get minutes into people's legs. Part of it is to do with increasing the fan base in other countries. But then also as well, when we played Hearts are 2 weeks ahead of us, and they start their season next week. QPR are a week ahead of us, and they should have a more advanced pre-season than us. And against Vissel Kobe, they played 24 games out of a 38-game league season, so they should have had They should have been far fitter than us. And today, with playing a K1 league team, Invitational All-Star team, obviously, again, they're in their season, so they should be all fitter. So it's all relative. It's all relative. It's about getting minutes in our legs. But yeah, I think we just need to be wise, and I'm hoping that we are wise and that we are preparing a path for their development and for the future of Tottenham. But yeah, I wouldn't have them all. I don't think they're all staying.
No, look, they won't all stay. They're never all going to stay. But, you know, even if we get 2 through, it's 2 more than what anybody said to me last season that we would get through. You know, so we're making progress in that regard. Also, the fact that Tottenham could have signed Hyuk and loaned him back to Gangwon, and that means he could have been classified as homegrown for Tottenham, and they chose not to take that option, shows me that they're very confident of getting 3 or 4 of these guys through to beef up that homegrown, trained by the club side criteria that you need for Europe and for the Premier League. You know, so that shows me that they're pretty confident in keeping some of these guys around. But look, when it comes to Donnelly, I think should be kept around. Mikey Moore, we're going to speak about now in a second. I think Ange Postecoglou has already alluded to, which I'm going to read out his quotes, that Mikey Moore will be kept around, despite people saying that he wouldn't. And Devine, I think he's had a very good preseason. I don't think he's put a foot wrong, but I don't think he's done anything to show that he's above Bergvall, that he's above Kulusevski, that he's above Madison, you know, people that he's going to be competing with for them spots in the middle. So I do think someone like Devine will go out on another loan. In terms of the 4 players we've got, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. You know, Veliz, he comes in as a foreign player. He only allowed 17 spots. So, you know, I think we're already above that, you know, with some of the players that we've got. So unless we clear some of them out, I think that means he has to go back out on loan, which maybe, you know, I think that's why they're taking their time on Will Lancashire to see whether they decide to send him out on loan or not. He might be kept around as that other option. I think that decision will only be made if Tottenham get another striker in through the door this season. But look, let's wait and see what happens. But I do think Donnelly should be kept around. You know, many people have praised Archie Gray for playing out of position, but I think Donnelly has been, you know, has evaded that praise for some reason. You're talking about a guy that's played up front, who dropped to the cam role, you know, to suit the under-21s last year, picked it up like that. You're talking about a guy who's a forward player that's stepping in at left back, picked it up like that. You know, Ben Davies can't even play left back, and he's been there all his life. You know, so it goes to show the intelligence of a player. And I've always said this: the mark of a good player is someone that can play in multiple positions. You know, okay, he has his main position, but he's competent in other positions, and he affects games. And Donnelly has done that. Yes, it's only preseason, and yes, you look at the caliber of teams we're playing. But like you said, Jose, a lot of them are already deeper into the preseason. The team Vizsla Kobe halfway through their season, K-League players halfway through their season. You know, so it's all about the quality shining through. And let's be brutally honest. You know, many people have words to say on these youngsters. Without these youngsters in the second half of these preseason games, we're talking about different results altogether. So, you know, they are contributing and helping us win and helping us get over the line. And I think that is something that needs to be taken on board. We've answered the question. Are they good quality players? Yes. The next question is, can they adapt physically, you know, to the pace and the powers and the rigors of the Premier League, which is a different question altogether. But we've got the question answered. Are they good enough on the football? I think, yes, they are, for sure. But look, I definitely would like to keep Jamie Donnelly around. I think he's absolutely sensational. But guys, let's move on to another young talent of ours, Mikey Moore. And then I do want to get on to questions about Kulusevski. And then once we finish them, guys, if there is any questions you want answered, get them in and we'll try our best to get through as many of them as we can. But Mikey Moore has been very impressive this preseason, scoring 2 goals so far, leading to Anne saying this about the 16-year-old. Mikey has been fantastic since we brought him in. He's earned his spot on the roster at the moment. He did at the end of last year. He got a run with the first team because we could see in training that he was handling himself really well, and that's followed through into preseason training. So, Ribsy, given Ange Postecoglou's praise for Mikey Moore, can we expect him to be a regular part of the first team squad this season?
Look, that front 3 over the last season, there were whole stretches of just drops in form where if Ange had any other option, a real option at that point, surely he would have tried them out. Because I remember, you know, Brennan Johnson for some of those games just he couldn't do anything right, and you could tell he was trying. It wasn't like he'd given up. It was just every cross was was miles off target. He couldn't hit the goal. He was in the right spots for the most part, but it just wasn't working out. So that I would suggest that if Moore stays in the team for the season, then you're going to see him have opportunities that he wouldn't have had. I can't imagine any reason why not, that you wouldn't give him a go. The problem is that, and we all tend to do this. We've seen these guys play in the preseason, and they've played against some opposition in non-competitive games against lower opposition, and sometimes you see the exact player that you've just seen do a great job against players who he's better than. He has to go up against players that he's not better than. In fact, he's probably worse than in a lot of ways because he's a young fella, and they just can't hack it. And it's because they're young and they're not used to playing people that are better than them. They're used to playing in the under-21s against people who are kids and not as good as them, right? Because he's a bit of a prodigy. So I think we should all manage our expectations a little bit just for the sake of his confidence. Because if it doesn't work, then it doesn't mean that he's not going to make it. It just means he's not there just yet. Or maybe he won't make it. That's the reality of it as well. Sometimes that's as far as they go. They become good enough. They knock on the door of it, and then they don't make it, and then they end up in the Championship or League One or something. And then I think he's going to be a professional footballer. I don't think we're going to say he's not going to make it that far.
Yeah.
But whether he's going to be a Tottenham Hotspur player, maybe. Possibly, probably, you could even say probably at this point, maybe, but we don't know for sure. We just don't, And I'm already working on his song. Should he make it? So I think we got to go with the disco hit more from the late 70s, just because it's his name three times.
More,
exactly.
More. Yeah, I'm all over that
perfect,
one.
Right?
All over that one. All over that one. Look,
but we'll hold it until he actually makes it.
Look, 100%. Look, I do think we're talking about a serious player on our hands. Some are going to kill me for saying this, but I'm going to say generational talent. Of course, these young years heading into the Premier League, it's all about, can you avoid big, massive, long-term injuries? They can really stunt a player's progression at a very young age. So there's still, and I have to stress this, there is still a long way to go for the likes of Mikey Moore, but, especially because I see it with Ever Ferguson at Ireland, right? Come through, physically able to hand himself, but injuries have really curtailed, his progress. And I just don't want the same to happen to Mikey Moore. So we do have a long way to go with him. But I do think we've got a serious player on our hands. What I like about him is, you see Johnson in the system. He's so erratic, whether the ball's playing in behind, whether it's at his feet. Look at Mikey Moore, so composed on the ball, popping it around, brings that air of confidence to him, that air of composure. And not only that, but, great wingers are able to slow things down and then just at a blink of an eye, quicken up, beat their man. And Mikey Moore's got that. That goal that he scored against Hearts, I'm sorry, Brennan Johnson does not score that. He doesn't have the ability to get on the ball, take on two players like that, and have the composure to finish. I think we're talking about a serious, serious player here. And I'm glad to hear them words from Ange Postecoglou, because it does seem like that he will be kept around this season. So fair play to the kid in that regard. He's been sensational for England underage groups, sensational for Tottenham under 18s last season. And let's hope that he can continue on that trajectory. Dermot, Jose, have you anything else to add in on? I'll ask you a slightly different question, actually. Jose, what has impressed you the most about Mikey Moore?
He's clearly got ability. Technically, he's sound. He's sound technically. Fearless. He's not scarred. He's not carrying baggage, and he looks, when he plays football, from what we've seen, he looks head and shoulders above a lot of players. Not only from his age groups and ages above, but even first team players. He provides energy and enthusiasm, but he has got the skill and technical ability as well. And the thing is, he runs with the ball. The ball, the dribbling, the technique that he's got with the dribbling and the running with the ball, and the skill that he's got, it's reminiscent to players that we've had in our great years at Tottenham, when players were allowed to have creativity and were allowed to play football the way football should be played and not be robotic as a lot of football is nowadays. So, at the end of the day, when you're playing, right, and let's be fair, all these kids that have played in pre-season, right, they've played academy football. So they're playing against kids of the same age group or similar, because some of the Tottenham under 21s were 19 playing up against 21s. So, but when you're playing, regardless who the competition is, Hearts are a men's senior team, QPR are a men's senior team, and whether people like it or not, Vissel Kobe are a men's senior team. These youngsters have not played against academy players or the same ilk. They've played against first teamers, and they've played really, really well. I also think that it's really easy to coach the youngsters because they've got no baggage and they've got no excess, and it's easy for them to pick up what they're being coached and asked to do. The older you get, the harder it is. So if you coach them and teach them young, then it's easier. And I just think that, he shows so much. And listen, today's what, the 31st of July? So in 12 days' time, he signs his first professional contract. Now, if he was that poor a player, then you wouldn't have all these big, massive clubs sniffing around him to try and get him. And they're offering 7-figure sums already for him to try and get him out of Tottenham and go to them. It's important that, well, for us, it's important not only because of his ability and that he's a good enough player to be around the first team, but it's also important for us to actually make him feel that as well, because we want to keep him at the club.
No, for sure. And I think you're absolutely spot on when you talk about the big names chasing him. Real Madrid, before he signed his last sort of contract with Tottenham, them and Dortmund were knocking around. You've had a lot of clubs trying to poach him, before he signs his first professional contract, which happens at some point during August. You're absolutely correct. I see
the 11th. It's the 11th of August.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I did look up his birthday there a few weeks ago. And by all means, I think, he's batted away all the interest of other clubs. He's a Tottenham fan and that he wants to stay here and he's going to sign that professional contract. So fair play to the kid. Dermo, anything you want to add to Mikey Moore before, I bring up the lineups, actually?
Yeah, look, I was going to say, Sav got ahead of me. I was about the Steve Perryman quote about not putting too much pressure on them. And I think he's right to say that. I agree with Sav. I don't agree with everything Sav says, but I agree with him with this, that we shouldn't put pressure on these youngsters. The youngsters at the end of the day, we need to let them develop at their own pace. And if you start putting pressure on them at an early age, that pressure is going to get too much on them. They're going to weigh them down, and then they're not going to develop. You look at Wayne Rooney when he made his debut for Everton at 16. These kids play without fear. And that's the one thing I think older players do. There's a bit of fear within their playing. These kids play without fear. They don't care who they're playing against. They don't care they're playing against Man United or Real Madrid. They don't give a shit. And why should you? All they want to do is play football. But let's keep a lid on the expectation on these kids and let's let them grow naturally. We have a chance to have we have a class to match the class of 92 in one way, to have the class of R24. These are good enough to play in the Tottenham first team. But if we heap too much pressure on them, like Perriman said, if we heap too much expectation on them, then they're going to wilter. Some of them will rise, some of them won't.
Who's putting expectations on them, though, Darmo?
I think some of the fans are. I think
fans are calling for them to make the squad. I'm just saying, I think this is a misconception. I don't think anyone's putting pressure on them. Personally, I think people are saying they want to see them fill out the squad rather than some of the shit that we've seen in years gone by. I think that's a complete different argument and point altogether.
Yeah, some fans are. I wasn't saying you, by the way, but some fans are. Some people in football are saying, this should be in the first team. There may be pressure within the club. There may be pressure from some of the coaches. These players need to be playing in your first team. That's what I meant by pressure. There's different lots of pressure, different pressure from different avenues of football. Steve Perriman was a kid that came through the academy back in the late 60s and played through the academy. Nicky Barmby came through the academy. We have not produced many academy kids. Harry Kane was the last academy kid we produced that was anywhere near world class. This is the first time in a long while we've produced more than one player that can play, that's come through the academy and can be put into the first team. And we haven't had that for many years. Many back in the early 80s, we produced more than one. But since then, it's been one. Nicky Barmby in the 90s, Harry Kane in the 2000s. So our youth academy hasn't been brilliant since the early 60s, late 70s. Now we're producing talent coming off the conveyor belt. Mikey Moore, Lancashire, Donnelly, Gunter. You know, players like this that will become full-time first teamers in a couple of years' time. So there is pressure on them to succeed, especially within the club. There's pressure from fans that do support them, that want to see them do well. Pressures from their families to succeed as well. There's different types of pressure. We just got to let them grow and let them enjoy their game. And that's the main thing. You go to football to enjoy it. As long as you enjoy your football. Alex Ferguson said to the class of 92. Gary Neville said, or Gary Neville, the Neville brothers, what was Ferguson's pep talk to you? Go and enjoy your game. Go and enjoy the football. Let your football do the talking. And this is what these youngsters do. They're going to let the football do the talking, but let's do it smartly this time. We have a chance. We have a genuine chance of producing some of the greatest players this club's produced. Let's give them the time, the space, and the free air to play the football without any pressure or anything else. Just let them enjoy it, and then we will get the rewards from that.
See, I think there's a massive general misconception out there. I think the pressure comes from when people argue going, well, they're not going to contribute to the first team. I think they're the ones actually putting pressure on these guys. I think people like me who are saying, hang on, you know, I look at the squad, you know, homegrown quota. It's crap. I've been talking about it for years. It needs to be fixed. And right now we've got a good group of youngsters that if we don't get at least 3 or 4 of them through to fill out that quota in future, we've completely mishandled the situation. And most people within that club need to be sacked if they don't get 3 or 4 of these through. Yeah. I'm not putting pressure on them. I actually want them to be given opportunities. I'm calling for them to be given opportunities. I'm not putting pressure on them whatsoever. I've always maintained, get them to fill out the squad, use them for Europa League games and all off the bench and stuff like that. That's not putting pressure on them at all. That's Dermot, I'll let you finish. Let me finish, please. I'm not saying that you are putting pressure on them, but people are saying stop putting pressure on them. It's not true. People like me are calling for these guys to be given an opportunity because I'm sick of seeing the backup players who I keep getting told by some fans are good enough let me down every single year. So I want to see them given that opportunity and try something different. The people that are putting pressure on them are the people going, they're not going to be good enough for the first team. They're not going to impact them. And why I said they're putting the pressure on them is because they're actually putting the pressure on them to come in and perform straight away. Anyway, I'd also argue pressure is a part of life. We're all under pressure, no matter what we do, no matter what profession you go in. They don't take into account consideration and age. Everyone's under pressure to perform and stuff like that. It's going to be with them whether fans put it on them or not. There's going to be pressure from themselves to go out there and perform and take the opportunities. They know they're not going to be afforded 10, 15, 20 opportunities. They might only get 3 or 4 if they're bloody lucky. So they themselves are going to put pressure on themselves, let alone us fans. But I don't take this argument that fans are putting pressure on them to perform because that's just not the case and it's not true.
Look, I wasn't saying you to begin with, and so can I just make that clear? I wasn't.
Yeah, I said you weren't saying me. I
wasn't saying you. I'm just saying there are certain fans that probably do put pressure, and pressure is life. You are right. We're under pressure every day in our own lives to do stuff, but it's how you handle that pressure. It's how you have the clubs that have the facilities around these young players to help them cope with the pressure, to help them see them through. Because it's a 16-year-old is not an easy age. We've all been 16 years old ourselves, so we know what it's like at 16 years of age. You've got all different temptations and whatever. It's down to the club to guide them through that, and it's down to the club to guide them through what it means to be a footballer, how to act, how to behave in public, how to behave in social media, how to just concentrate on what you want to do. I agree with you when you say about they should be in the first team. I agree with you in that, Dave. I watched an awful lot of under-21s with you last season, and I agree with everything you say. But I just think for these lads to grow, and for these kids to grow, like the class of '92. We have to do what Fergie did, take the pressure away from them, let them grow as footballers. And then you will see probably a bunch of the greatest youth kids we've brought in a very, very long time. And I think that's the thing. We have to look back. You have to look at what Fergie did with the youth team back then. What did he do? And I know time's involved, but there's still principles at the end of the day. Look after them, protect them. Sort of wrap them up in cotton wool, but give them enough space to enjoy their football. And that's all I want from them, is to enjoy their football and prove to us they are the quality they are, because we know they can be. And I know they will be. But just give them a bit of time and space. But I do agree with some of the things you said as well, Dave. So just
look, let's wait and see what happens. I will bring up the lineup just quickly. I just want to take this from Matthew, Richard Matthew. And I'm actually going to stick up for every YouTuber, even if I don't agree with their opinions here. Says our fans are divided because they want views. Not at all. Football is a beautiful game. Everyone sees life through different lenses, which means they see football through different lenses. And at the end of the day, it's all about opinions. Everyone has their own opinion. In fact, I'd be more concerned if everyone was sitting there singing off the same hymn sheet. It means the chairman of the club has got everybody by the grip and they're all singing the one narrative, to a degree. The fact that everyone has different points of views, I actually enjoy, whether I agree with them or not. Everyone has their view, and then if I don't agree with them and I have something to say, I'll give my point of view towards it and stuff like that. But no one, I don't think anyone's doing anything for views whatsoever, to be brutally honest with you, in that regard. So I have to counter that. I think that's very, very unfair there to be brute for people out there. Let's see what we're dealing with. Just bear with me 1 second. I'll get them up for y'all.
Please no Royale.
Here we are. Happy days. Let's get them up. He's starting. So, the starting lineup today is Vicario. Can everyone see that? Yeah? Everyone can see that?
Yeah.
So, starting lineup today is Vicario in goals. Pedro Porro at right back. Real and Ben Davies forming a centre-back partnership with Donnelly at left back. Papa Matasar, Gray and Bergval in the midfield with Kulizeski, Son and Johnson forming the front line. Interesting that Madison has dropped out and Bergval's in. Is that Postecoglou maybe laying down the gauntlet to Madison and trying Bergval, see if he can bring something a bit more different, see if he can actually, release that front line a bit more than maybe what Madison is. So very interesting there. In the members preview for this game, I had that discussion with Jack that I feel like Ange Postecoglou is very frustrated with Madison. He had no problem taking him off in early games from the start to the end of the season, but also had no problem in dropping him as well. In this preseason, I don't think he's done that and to, prove a point or light it up either. So I wonder, is that hint that maybe Postecoglou is maybe getting a bit pissed off with James Madison, but disappointed to see Johnson in that forward line again. I would prefer to see Mikey Moore in there to see what he can offer. But what we'll do is we'll go around the houses, we'll get everyone's thoughts on the lineup, we'll get them to plug what they need to plug, and then we will end off, and I will be back for the watch along. Ribsy, what's your thoughts on the starting lineup, my man?
Yeah, I mean, looks good. Looks better than on paper than some of the stuff we put out in the previous matches in this preseason. Once again, no. Well, I guess Davies is sort of a centre back, but no out and out centre backs. But Dragusin obviously hasn't played any football. He's obviously done some training with the boys since he's got to Korea, but he hasn't had a start yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes on fairly promptly at halftime, or maybe even before, or who knows. But apart from that, it looks all right, I guess. I'm sick of I'm kind of sick of watching Johnson stink up the place, to be perfectly honest. So I'd like to see him come off. But then again, if he comes out and he's finally it all clicks in for him and he starts to look good, then it's all worthwhile. This is what the preseason's for. So whatever,
What about Bergval for Madison?
Yeah, look, Madison has, since he's come back from that injury, He just hasn't seemed to really get back to full speed. I think that Southgate made the right choice in not picking him for that England team for exactly that reason. And from what I've seen in the preseason so far, he's better, but it seems to be a slow road to recovery for him. So, look, it's a shame for him, but the good news is we've got this young Swede who's ready and raring to go, and it's preseason. There's nothing to lose. So yeah, let's see what he's got. Keen for it.
No, 100%. Let's see what he's got. Some people saying they don't understand Davies and Royale. I think, look, we have to understand, you've no Romero, no Van de Ven out in Korea, and Dragusin only arrived, so I presume they're probably holding him back for the Bayern Munich game to that degree. Interesting as well that Gray's starting in his natural position in the CDM, but also looks like Kulusevski will go back up front as well. So, I thought he'd done all right there the other day. Ribsy, thank you very much for your contribution today, my man. I really do appreciate it. It was an absolute pleasure to have you, buddy. And hopefully, we can get you on some more throughout the course of the season. Absolute brilliant contribution today. And thank you very much for your time. Dermo, sorry about that. I thought I was still up the top. I'm not. I moved myself to the bottom so I can bring up the comments. Dermo, what's your thoughts on the starting lineup, buddy? And where can people find you?
Look, Roy Ellen Davis, why put us through this torture? Please, Ange, why? I mean, I was having such a great morning till I saw the I do, yeah, because Romero's not back. I get it. Ashley Phillips, I think, is injured as well, isn't he, Dave? So I think that's why he's not starting. Look, apart from that, I don't think it's a bad lineup. Johnson, I am going to have to disagree, Ribsy. I think Johnson is a good player, and I think he will prove to be a good player in the end. I think Kulu will play up front with Sonny on the wing, and Bergville and Gray in the camera. He is going to put pressure under Maddison and also Gray as well in the CDM room. And look, it's minutes, isn't it? It is minutes. This is all it is get minutes in the legs. And look, it's a game that we really should win, but it's all about minutes. And I'm sure we'll see Rudu back on Saturday. If you like what I have to say, I'm doing a watch along today as well as Dave, I suppose, most all the other Spurs YouTube channels as well. Yeah, you can find me in THFC till I die with the likes of Tequila 316, Philip Brady, and also Column. And we talk all things Spurs. We've got the new European football channel starting in August as well, where we'll cover all the other European leagues as well, Serie A, Bundesliga, League of Ireland as well, all the internationals. So, but yeah, THFC till the die. We're 127 away from 2K, so we'd love to get there before start the season. But thanks again for having me on, Dave. Always love coming on these pump-ups. And please hit a like on Dave's channel as well. Get him to 15K.
No, I enjoy having you, Dermo. Even though we don't agree on everything, you put me through my paces to a degree, which I absolutely love. So people, please get over and subscribe to Dermot. I have put his link here in the chat. So if you want to... it's taken its time for some reason. It's gone slow. So we'll head down to Jose. But I have put Dermot's link in the chat. I'll bring it up. Just click on it, get over, and smash that subscribe button. Dermo, thank you very much for your time getting up nice and early, just like you did, for the last few as well. So really appreciate that, my man. And thank you very much. And then, so people, his link is here. Get on it. And then, Jose, what's your thoughts on the lineup, my man? And where can people find you?
I've for the last few shows that I've been on since Sunday, I've been inviting to some shows. I turned around and said, look, I want to see Bergvall and Gray start in the midfield positions and play with what we'd like to deem to be more senior players. But I also asked for, I wanted to see Mikey Moore start as well with the more senior players, rather than seeing some of these players as the second half substitutes when all the youngsters end up coming on. I wanted to see what they would look like with senior players around them. So I'm glad that Graham Bergvall has started. The midfield three has got a lot of energy about it in Sarr, Graham Bergvall. There's a hell of a lot of energy there in midfield, which probably makes up for the defence. So the centre-back pairing, it makes up for the defence, and hopefully the midfield can shield these two centre-halves, because we watched what these two centre-halves did for us when we had all our injuries last year. So, yeah, hopefully the midfield looks, as I said, looks very, very energetic. Up front, yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I think Kulusevski's going to play in the false nine. And I did say that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Yes, I still want Tottenham to go out and buy a centre forward, a forward player, but In some games, you're going to need a forward player. In some games, you're gonna need a false nine. There's other teams that playing in the Premiership that play with false nines, and they ain't done badly, have they? So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. It's interesting. We've got 17 subs, and 3 of them are goalkeepers, and 14 outfield players on the substitutes bench. Someone said, "Why is Dragusin not playing?" Dragusin's only just got out to Korea, and has only played a couple of. Sorry, he's only partaken in a couple of training sessions.
Yeah.
Hence why he's not been selected for today. But I think he will be up and running, and definitely be one of the centre backs against Bayern on Saturday, providing they stay injury free. So yeah, but like I said at the start of the show, I look forward to when Tottenham play football. So for pre-season or not, I support my team. Win, lose, draw, I support them, and I want to see them play again today. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on, Dave, again. It's brilliant that I'm on leave and that I'm able to come on this early. Thank you to Ribsy and to Dermot as well. And yeah, if people want to follow me, I'm on Eltel Cockerell. Small channel, but yeah, we just get on with it. And please carry on subscribing and supporting Dave and Jack at the Irish Hotspur. Thank you very much. And today, come on, you Spurs.
No, I appreciate that, Jose. Everybody, Jose, I always say this, think he's one of the most underrated channels on YouTube. Please get across, smash that subscribe button. He's a great contributor. Really enjoy having him here and really enjoy listening to his takes. So, Jose, thank you very much again for giving up your time nice and early over some of these, pre-season games and that. It really is appreciated and doesn't go unnoticed. So, thank you very much. So, guys, please subscribe to THFC Till I Die and El Tel Cockerell as well. Ribsy, do you have a channel I don't know about? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Do you have a secret channel that I don't know about?
Nah, man, I'm not here to promote anything. I'm just here to just make up the numbers and put my horrible accent into everything and generally just disagree with most people. But I try to do it diplomatically. So
nah, you're
absolutely he is fantastic. Here. He's here to represent the Australian nation. That's what he's here to do. That's what Ribs is. He's here representing. Can I just say quickly, Dave? There is somebody going around using my logo on my name. Can I just put out there? It is not me. It's a different spelling. He uses my name, but it's in lowercase. It's not me. So if it goes into any other chat or he says something, please let me know. I'm trying to get him banned from YouTube, but it is not me. So I just want to put that out there as well.
But it was easy to identify here because, Dermot, your member badge comes up and the person who's impersonating you didn't have a member badge on here anyway.
And I do apologize. It took me long to get to it. Sorry, it's so wrapped up in the conversation. I didn't see, the private message, but I did get there in the end. So I do apologize. Just quickly, guys, Yang Min Hyuk does start for the K-League 11 today as well. So something to keep an eye out for. But just quickly, my thoughts on the lineup. Absolutely delighted to see Jamie Donnelly in there, given another opportunity. Preferably, I'd like to see him up in the forward area. But look, another opportunity for the guy to take his minutes and let's see what he can do. Not going to get too pissed off with Emerson and Ben Davies being centre back. Radu Dragson's only arrived in Korea, has had, I think, 1 or 2 training sessions. So that's why he's not starting. And Ashley Phillips is injured. That's why he's not starting. We're waiting for Romero and Van de Ven to come back as well. So going into midfield then, look, I'm delighted to see Archie Gray in that number 6. Let's see what he can bring, see if he can bring any more defensive stability to this team. One thing in pre-season, we still get opened up very easy against average teams. That's one thing that we need to close the shop on. So it'll be interesting to see if Archie Gray can bring maybe that screen protection for the back four that we need. Bergvall coming in ahead of Madison. Super excited to see how he gets on today, whether he can actually contribute and help release that front line a lot more than what we do when Madison is in the team. And then the front line with Kulusevski back up top today. Not ideal. I would like another striker in this football club. But I've always said I think Kulusevski has a future striker role in him. And he done well last week. Let's see how he does this week. And let's see if Brennan Johnson can take his minutes today as well. But that's my thoughts on the lineup. But guys, we are going to end off. I do have a watch along that will be up and running in 10 minutes time on this channel. So make sure you just click the live part on the channel to bring you to the watch along. And we'll be starting up in 10 minutes. And lastly, I want to say, look, I know there's a lot of tension and frustration in the air around Tottenham Hotspur with how long these signings are taking and stuff like that. But one thing that absolutely kills me is seeing the Spurs fan base rip each other apart over opinions. You know, when I grew up, it used to be when you're walking along the street and you see a Spurs fan, you used to have that mutual respect for each other, that nod of the head, because you were both going through the same shit. You know, you both tried to enjoy the same shit, and you genuinely respected one another, tried to help out one another. And no matter where you were across the world, if you've seen a fellow Spurs fan, you would get help or you would have good company. Now we're just ripping each other apart, and it's absolutely a shame to see. It's not fans' fault. The club is the way it is at this moment in time. You know, we've got managers and director of football who have been shot at, who are trying to fix this. Players who have been shot at, who are trying to fix this. But one thing is, fans are not the problem. None of us are paid by the club. None of us are in the boardroom making the decisions. None of us are in the transfer committee making the decisions. If we would, they would have been in on the 1st of July. So stop ripping each other apart. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. It's okay to disagree with each other and have a chat back. But as long as it stays football related, apart from that, we're fucking Spurs fans. Let's start respecting one another. That's me out. I'll see you on the watch along. Take care, guys. Oh, lastly, sorry, actually, how fucking rude of me. Moondog, Dark Zone G, MV Joker Davies, Faz Radfar, Hennessy, Shane, Spurs Danielist, Shamu Van Spurs. Really appreciate all of you guys going the extra mile today. It really does mean a lot. You know, all of these YouTube channels, all of us content creators, we all do this off our own back. We all rely off the fans' donations and stuff like that. So it really does mean a lot. And as well, everyone else that is tuned in today, you know, there are a lot of people from all over the world, but many people have work right now and they're still finding a way to tune in, you know, so appreciate every single one of you. On the way out, please smash the like, the subscribe. See you in 10 minutes. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.